Termination.
No, but ba gore na o a kula ke ba go o botse hi ke heartbreak ya go wena no so confirm that Gauteng is the least direct.
But good morning. Thank you for that person because I
Yeah.
know with them being brought down. People can hear me. And in Nino was like a number like that.
And most of batho ba sebetsang mo abana le qualification for 8,000 of them leveling ya gona the
One, two, one, two.
30% whatever sports
Imagine.
especially coordinates abani belula abana
Imagine.
abana
So since one of the
wa bona o bona ba o na le match.
So we can start with the
but
program.
so wrong. But the thing is, I feel like the youth does not want to participate in them. But these people that do this for them.
I see our dignitaries are having their in the morning for a good cause, supporting women in sport. And thank you again for waking up so early in the morning just to honor this important day within the sporting calendar, within the Gauteng sporting, the sporting fraternity at large. Igama ngumpumi Manyesi. I'm a multimedia reporter and a journalist at the SABC Sport. I serve. Today is hashtag GP Women in Sport. I'll say it again. Hashtag GP Women in Sport. We would just thank the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation for just setting things, curving pathways for the economic emancipation for Gauteng women in sport. We'll also be focusing on providing a platform to uplift women and girls excelling in sport by linking affecting women and girls excelling in sport and applying collective knowledge and insight for their running away. Dikeledi Mata to give us an opening remark, and she is representing the Department of Sports and Recreation here at the city of Ekurhuleni. Bengicela simshayeleni izandla.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mpumi. I am Dikeledi Mataba from Shin, and in my department, we are led by the leader, which is our woman, Miss Zanele Katumbe, and she is our leader in the division, whereby this shows that women can lead in sports, and within the three regions whereby we are divided within the east, south, and north. Education centers, community centers and halls, civic centers, and leased facilities. These facilities, you would have to lease them in order to use them. We also have partnerships that we have with our community sports organizations, whereby we usually give free usage. So that goes with partnerships that we serve as far as back as since 2011, if I'm not wrong, whereby we form partnerships and they give back. We create women economic emancipation. Let's take note of opportunities that may arise today, and let's make notes, let's network, and let's be open-minded. Last but not least, welcome once again, ladies and gents.
Bengicela simshayeleni izandla futhi. She mentioned very important things to make sure that you don't live without bearing something today. The captains of the industry are here. We'll be introducing them and they'll be speaking, sharing their experience and knowledge within the sporting fraternity, be able to make ourselves money and have a decent living. Not only that, to be in a good, and whether you're a manager, whether you're a parent, whether you're a child who is serving in the space, we all need to be in one space to be able to encourage each other and to be able to motivate each other to not stop going. It's a tough industry to be in, especially as a woman, especially as a young girl. And those are the things that we're going to be talking about today. Now, without wasting any time, let me call upon a Gauteng Sport Confederation representative. Igama lakhe is Alisa Kondli. You know her very well. She's a professional South African athlete, an Olympian for that matter, a honors graduate and a motivational speaker. She'll be sharing some knowledge with us this morning. Please welcome her with a round of applause. And to all our speakers, can we utilize the podium, please?
Good morning, everyone. There's a whole room full of beautiful women. Department for having us here today. It is such an honor to be addressing you, not only as a professional athlete, but also as part of the sports, Gauteng Sports. As you heard, I'm Melissa Conley. I was born in Riverlea, Johannesburg, and that is basically where I started my career at the age of 4 years old. So I was a very naughty kid, and my parents decided I have to go to school early because they couldn't take care of me. So they sent me to school, and it was at Riverlea, Wilhelmina Hoskins Primary, if any of you know where that is. That is where I discovered my talent to run. My first race, I ran on gravel stone, and I was fast, and everybody was like, yo, okay, she's fast, let's call her Zola Bad. And my parents were also like, okay, she's naughty, but at least she's fast, so she could have some kind of future. You know, and then they saw that I'm quite talented in sprinting, and they took me from Riverlea to Middle Primary in the south of Johannesburg as well. And I loved athletics. That was my passion. You know, I grew up watching Marion Jones. I grew up watching a bunch of athletes, and I was always like, I want to be the fastest woman in South Africa. I want to be the fastest in Africa. I want to go to Olympics. It was my only dream that I had. So I was extremely passionate about it, and I worked very hard. And luckily, I had supportive parents, even though I came from not a very financially sound upbringing, but they would support me in terms of, you know, being there for me, trying to give me what I need, even if they had to sacrifice themselves. And it gets to a point where I know all of you have a dream in this room. All of you maybe want to play for the Proteas, whether it's the netball, the cricket, for Banyana Banyana. You know, maybe you want to be an Olympian yourself. We got amazing athletes here. KG is in the house. Maybe you want to be a tennis player. We got Dumke, who's a rugby player. So maybe all of you have dreams here, and you have to work hard towards it, and you just need that extra motivation, that encouragement, that guidance. And that is why we're here in one room today as women in sport, captains. I don't think we're the captains, I think they're the captains, because we're here to serve them. So back to my story, I ran. I was fast. I unfortunately experienced a major operation before then, and it was really hard because I'm a young girl. You know, I have coaches from the south. They're not really well equipped. I've Googled most of the stuff to help me train and all of that. So the same things you experience, we experience, and that's why we want to change it for you. So it took me 4 years to recover from an injury, from an operation. 4 years. So you can imagine the mental stress, the emotional stress, the physical stress, because you must remember, the only thing I had was to be an athlete. And now that's taken away from me, so I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Who am I now? What do I identify as now? Because I'm no longer fast, I'm slow. You know, I went from being 7-time national champion to not even making a final. I was introduced to great athletes like Itumile Nkune, Caster Semenya, all of these athletes, and instead of just sitting there being like, yo, Caster, I actually drew inspiration from her being at that level. And I was like, okay, who are you? Do you want to still become the athlete, or are you just going to sit back and watch the rest of the athletes? And you know, you had to make a decision as to what type of mindset are you going to tap into. And I was like, okay, I want to be the athlete still. So I started training 2014 November, because I was like, 2016 Olympics, I'm going to be there. I made that decision. And obviously it was really hard, and I had to really look for people to support me. It was tough. I went to different organizations. I went to different coaches. They rejected me. They looked at me and they were like, you're too fat, you're too slow, you're too old. You know, they told me all these negative things, and eventually I had to just make a decision and be like, I'll start training by myself. And I trained with my sister, and together we decided, okay, people are ready. And I trained for 365 days. I trained, I sacrificed. Thank you. Positioning. And I want to give back to the young Alyssa in the room, the young KG in the room, the young Dunke in the room, the young Stacy in the room. And that is why I volunteered my time to be part of the Gauteng Sports Confederation. Not because, work, guys, let me tell you that. It's work that I wasn't able to reach that height. But I'm not going to say I've gained. And I motivate a young Alyssa that wanted this motivation and guidance. And it's not going to take much for you to help these young athletes in the room. So if anything today, let us network with each other, let us share sport. In the next 5 years, we haven't only bridged the pay gap in our team sports, but our individual sports as well. Because there's a massive lack in individual. We know Banyana is doing really well. They fought for this. We've had ambassadors fighting there. Cricket Proteas are doing well. We've had ambassadors fighting over there. And netball. They're slowly bridging that gap. But let us not forget our individual sporting codes as well. They're working just as hard. Maybe not in a team setting, but they need more support because they don't have that team member to cover for the confederation. So as the Gauteng Sports Confederation, we would like to support every federation sitting, in this room, whether there's a representative or not. And we would like to increase gender equity in sport. We would like females to have equal opportunities as our male counterparts. And the only way we can do that is if we work as a unity. I know that every one of us have the same strategy, but if we're not working async, it's not going to happen. Secondly, we would like to provide training and certification opportunities. If we look at the stats, how many athletes go through their career, sporting career, and after their career, what do? Nothing, because we're not providing educational opportunities. We're not providing workshops for our athletes. We're not giving them the necessary skill sets to learn your basic skills to join working places thereafter. We're not giving them opportunities for internships, etc. So we need to start thinking about the educational side of sport as well. Unfortunately, like I said, nothing lasts forever. So if I didn't have an educational background, I don't know where I would be right now. So we need to really focus on training and certification for our athletes. We need to increase opportunities for networking and development like these, more often and in different spaces. We need to do that as well. Provide a platform for mentorship and opportunities and recruitment. We need to mentor our athletes. We need to make sure that mentally they develop their career post-sporting. We need more coaches in sport. How many professional female coaches do we see sitting alongside the field? Hardly any. And it's not that we don't have the skill set. Actually, I think we're better than men. Because we have more emotional cognizance. We understand and we want to understand. Men is just like, run, Women would want to understand why you have to run, how are you feeling, how can we help you, those type of things. So personally, I had one female coach in my career out of 6 coaches. And I feel like if I had a female coach when I became a professional athlete, I would have achieved better. But we don't have access to female coaches because girls here feel like there's no opportunity and there's no progression in sporting careers. But there is. And I feel like I am a testimony to that. So hopefully today we can stick within our sporting codes and not shy away from them. We want to be able to provide opportunities for training and development on a holistic scale for coaches, administrators, as well as athletes, and then consult and advise on existing or new policies. So again, the call is for people like myself who has been through this, who has experience, because I do believe that theoretical knowledge is very important, but experience speaks volumes. Once you've gone through the challenges, once you've gone through everything in sport and what sport can do to you, those are the people we need to come and stand in these positions to mentor our young athletes. So once you're done with your career, don't go and live a lavish life somewhere else or go somewhere. Remember sport. Remember where you started. Come back and give back. So we are calling for existing women in sport or identified women in sport in the industry, professionals, advisors, male or female. Because as much as we want to stand with women, we're nothing without men, unfortunately. So male and female together, we need to unite with men instead of isolating ourselves from men so we can actually progress. And we're calling for all of those previous athletes, teachers, administrators to come and join us so that we can make this a success. And with that being said, as a conclusion, You know, we want to add value as the Gauteng Sports Council. Maybe we can't provide financial backing at the moment, but we can add value in terms of mentorship, training, education, guidance. You know, this is just a guideline for all federations. You have to be implementing these structures within your program. You can't just leave the girl athlete laying on the side. We have to make sure that they have a career post-sporting career. We have to make sure that we develop them holistically and not just focus on them if they can bring us a medal. How do you know an athlete can bring you a medal if you don't develop them? How do you know someone cannot be the world's greatest if you don't invest in them, right? So many times we only want to be next to the person once they've achieved. But when in the process of trying to get to that point, we don't know them, right? So we need to be able to identify who we can work with and how we can assist them to get to that point. Everyone wants to win, but to truly succeed, whether it is at a sport or at your job or in life, you have to be willing to do the hard work. Overcome the challenges and make the sacrifices it takes to be the best at what you do. I always say, for myself personally, what got me through is what the mouth speaks, wait, let me get that right, it's been a while. What the mind thinks, the mouth speaks and the body believes. So it starts here. Whatever you're thinking, your mind will speak and your body will naturally believe it. So if we're gonna believe that we're less than, that's what we're going to be. If we're gonna believe that we are better than, that's what we're going to be. So just to leave everyone in the room today, we are strong, powerful women, right? And nothing can break us down. I know Dumke will say, Imbokoro, because there we go, that's our rugby player. And we are as strong as rocks over here. But if we work together, we'll be even stronger. So let us use today to learn from each other, to grow together, and to push towards bridging that gap of gender inequality and create female Olympian medalists. You know, bring back the South African sevens medal from the Olympics. Bring back trophies. Let's fill up the female cabinet with honors as well, and we can only do it as a team. Thank you.
Ma'am, that was decent. What do I say after that? 3 key things I've picked up from her presentation, or Alisa: passion, discipline, and motivation, motivation and mentorship. If you have the knowledge and you have the experience, it is imperative for you to share it with those that are coming after you, so that they can carry what you have imagined or achieved. So it's not about one person or being the only woman to and the first person to. It's about doing it and showing others that it is possible. Once you've done it, share the info. Tell us about your experience. Come to these gatherings. The people that are here, they are indeed captains of their industries. And you and I, we need to acknowledge their presence. They could be elsewhere doing business and just continuing individuals, as athletes, as people in the sporting fraternity, as coaches, as parents that are leading kids that are in sport. So 2 things that you can take home with. With that said, please let's remember our hashtag. Our hashtag is #GP Women in Sport. We are on social media. Let's keep this event trending online. Right now, I am going to introduce a woman who does not need any introduction, but for the sake of formalities, I'll give you a little background in terms of who she is and what she has done. She is a former physical education teacher, turned women in sport advocate, former netball many boards, but most importantly, in the Cricket SA board, and a woman of color. I see she's smiling. She founded our favorite Women in Sport platform, which is the South African Women in Sport Foundation. We've seen the work that she has done. Please help me welcome Me Buditambi Ravele.
This time during these events, and also listening to stories of people that we are not aware of. So thank you so much for organizing this particular event. So, for those who don't know South African Women in Sport Foundation, we are an NGO. We have a board of trustees, and I'm happy today that one of our trustees is here, Fran Hilton Smith. She had been with SAWAFS for so long. And we have other strong women who serve in the trust. And what do? We actually focus on issues of advocacy. We really make sure that we challenge anything that stands between women participating in sport and policy or any decisions that are made in any area. But we also train other women to be advocates, because we realize that most of the time when we have challenges, it's challenges because of women are sitting in certain areas and not challenging the system. So we train them on advocacy. We train women on mentorship. Their speakers spoke about mentorship. So that when you go into mentorship, you should know exactly what to do between the mentor and the social media. Very soon we will be announcing our new program on mentorship. If you want to be mentored, you could actually register for mentorship, and then we'll have indicated who are the mentees that we have on our list. Without facts. So part of what we do is research, and we've done very good research. 2 of our researches were presented in the World Conference of Women in Sport in 2018 in Botswana, and in 2022 I presented also another research in New Zealand. So we make sure that whenever the cycle of World Conference, which is 4 years, after 4 years, we should actually make sure that there's a research and we present those research in those forums. One thing, we train future leaders, so we identify women who we think they can progress into their leadership. But the reason why we started doing that, when we were challenging federations to say you are not appointing women in your committees, in your boards, they were telling us that there are no women. And also they were taking women who are not ready for the position in order for them to tick the boxes to say we have women in, and those women were not performing their duties, or they were not doing their best in those forums. So we decided not to be complaining, to come with solution. We train women on leadership. Yesterday, we were in Cradle Moon. We were finalizing our last training, which we started last year in August. And yesterday, we were doing it through hiking and relating issues around hiking with leadership. That when you go hiking, you need some support system, you need some equipment, you need whatever. And when you go into leadership, you also need some equipment. You need to read your policies, you need to know what type of organization you are leading, who are the people, you need all those things. But also, when you are actually hiking or walking, you need a team. And in your team, you need to check everybody that you are working as a group and everybody is fine. There are no injuries, there are no whatever. So all those things, you do them also in leadership. So it was quite a great, because of the leadership you study in the universities or you read, it's not the leadership. We run conferences. We call them advocacy international conferences. At the beginning when we started, we were calling them national conferences, but our conferences have developed now to be conference because we get speakers from all over the world, even from Africa. So in our conferences, we would come out with resolutions every year, and we follow that you see happening without knowing what is happening behind the scenes. And I will tell you some of them. SASCOC today is having 50% representation of women. Actually, they are 60%. That was the resolution taken from SAWAF's conference. We pushed it at SASCOC, and SASCOC at the end changed the constitution to make sure that women are represented at SASCOC board, and 50% should be representation of women. They're struggling now to get federations doing it. So we need to come up again with another strategy to say, how do we make sure that all federations implement that? So we will be sitting down and looking at that. In part one of the conferences, we came up with a resolution to say we need a policy on women in sport. We wrote to SASCOC to say, SASCOC, can you help us to get the policy? And they then responded back to say, yes, they can do that, but it needs government's support. And again, your network, if you are a woman and if you are in another organization, make sure that what you do is to support other women's projects. So one of the board members, when they had a meeting with the minister about is the policy that was motivated then. We are not happy with it because it's not responding to the issues that came out of that conference, but we will have to. But the point is one, is that we are moving. The issue of equal pay and equal prize money, we challenge policies. So whenever there's a policy in sport, we read all policies in sport. We might be struggling, was out, we went and present on ICASA. A lot was done, but also again, we were not happy with what they were doing because of, they were taking our recommendation to do something else. And that's what happens. But the point is one, there is a change. In their board, not in their board, in their top executives, it was all men and 1 woman. And we challenged that. Later on they had 3 women. And that's progress. And I think one of the things that we should actually be happy about is the fact that whilst we are challenging issues, people are moving. Whether they are happy in movement or not, but there are changes. So we have done that. We still need to look at our conference last year, where our guest speaker or our keynote speaker was Desiree Ellis, who's our coach, who are proud of her and the work that she's doing. And we need to talk about that, and we need to support her. And all of us, we need to support. So she have done that, she did that, and then we then implement all those resolutions in the 4 years to the next World Conference in the UK. We did that, and that's what part of that, that's what we are implementing today. We had a lady from Zambia, our good friend Katango Balwa, who also talked about the change movement in women in sport, because we check also what are we doing in South Africa and what other countries are doing, and how do we align and make sure that we move with everybody. She presented that very well, and we were happy about that. And the lady from US, Jessica, she presented on empowerment of women in sport, and the issue that we are going to talk about the economy, and how do we maneuver into the economy of sport. On media portrayal on women's sport, and what can we do about it. And this woman, she had done a research for IOC, she's from Canada, was actually indicating that most of women's events are put in the program when they do the program. In the program where there's not much viewership, and the time is not a friendly time for us to get that viewership. And she presented even how to deal with it. That's one of the things that we are working on now. So part of the resolutions that came out of there was to advocate for diversity and inclusion, and it's one of the things that we are focusing on, and I will give you also what I'm doing on my corner. But also to find ways for women to develop critical consciousness. We don't want also women who gets into boards or into committees and close the door. We want women who would open and make sure that other women get in. But to tackle imbalances in sports, in viewership, in coverage, and also in the media, in the media slot. We also look at issues around, actually as a resolution, effective and powerful leadership, and our leadership training is doing that, and achieving gender equality and empowerment. And lastly, we were looking at gender inclusion in sports, and also we need to look more on policies. So I will talk now personally about my mission, or how I move with the mission of what the organization is doing, and the previous organization that I led, which was Women in Sport South Africa. So when I moved as a president of Netball, part of our problem was the fact that most of the teams that were coached by men, umpires are men, and it's still happening in certain areas, but there's a lot of improvement. And we empowered more women to take positions on those, and we empowered women to also serve in the executive of Netball South Africa. And until now, the executive of Netball South Africa is all women. I moved to boxing, which is a male-dominated sport, and being appointed as a first black, not even black, first woman to be the chair of the board. But I made sure that we made women visible in boxing. And prior to that, possibly I should give you that, women were not allowed to box in this country until 1999. So 1998, somebody approached me to say, Ntambi, have you seen the act of boxing? And I said, no, what's happening? And then he was saying to me, the act says women are not supposed to box and also do wrestling. And by then I was heading the previous organization, which was WASA. So I then said, okay, fine, no, we need to challenge that in Parliament. So we then wrote to Parliament and challenged it. And then in 99, they had the bill, and then they went through the process. It was not easy. And I remember Boxing South Africa bringing even their doctors, their whatever. They brought in a team of people arguing that women are not supposed to box. And one of the issues that they were standing on was the issue around the breast, and also pregnancy. And in our response, I remember even in Parliament showing it in action so that they can understand it much better, saying, if the problem is the protection here, that's not a problem, because of you are doing it for men's boxing. Men have protections that they put here. Every boxing event, there's a doctor, and even before that, they do testing. You can test those issues. So we challenge every. So when I joined boxing, I then said, let me take the step further. And then we created all women's events where the doctor should be a woman, and the official should be a woman, the promoter should be a woman, and women should be boxing. And that was a great program which was supported by government and provincial governments. I'm disappointed that that project, after I left, it's not moving as fast as it was moving at that time. But also again, the minister at that time supported it. It was Mbalula, Minister Mbalula, and he supported it, and that's why it progressed. And I think sometimes when government also buy in on the program, it becomes a success. So today I'm in Cricket South Africa. Out of 15 board members, I was appointed as the only woman. And I said, I'm not going to keep quiet. I will even dance on the table if we don't bring other women. So the first year when we rotate, I managed to pull in 2 women. And the second year when we rotate again, we had a big fight. It even delayed the appointment of board members. And it nearly became a legal issue. But we ended up having that other woman coming into the board. So now, in the board, within a space of 2 to 3 years, we have 4 women in cricket board. And the focus then was not only in the board, was to again liberate women within cricket and make sure that cricketers benefits out of the sport. So we then started pushing the issue around the women's contract. The professional league of the women is the first actually women's professional league in South Africa. All other federations have no professional league. Our players, they have contracts. Their job is to play cricket. And the national team, whenever they are traveling, they get all resources that the men's team gets. They fly on business class. Very soon, we will be announcing the SA20 International Women's League. We are pushing for that. But the national league in the country, it started, and women are playing professional league in the country. My request to all of us is to support those women. Let's go to the stadium, let's attend their matches, because of the argument is that why should we do it whilst there's no viewers? Let's go and let's view when the games are together. Now, they've linked with the games with the men's cricket so that they become curtain raisers, and also for the first time, SABC, not SABC, SuperSport, they actually cover their game, their opening game, live on TV. So there is progress. So again, when it comes to youth, what we do, we partnered with Dumisani Chauke Netball Foundation so that we can reach, because one of the resolutions that came out of our conference is that we must start focusing on the youth because of about our journeys, so that they can start preparing their journey on their, around their careers. One thing that you would ask me is back are now coming up into the ranks. So we are happy about that. But the point is, one is that I sit home and watch television and get excited listening to somebody that I don't even know who is actually pulling up the ranks of sport. At all areas we are actually making an impact. So whether there's progress or not, there is progress, but the progress is not something that we can sit back and relax and say, we have done it. We still have to do more. Like I said, federations and also confederations, I forgot about that. And also confederations, because of presidents of confederations are men. And I think that's also another area that we should focus on. Our social media, the forums that we create for more other women is to create a network. Yesterday she said something that I realized we need more of these forums, because she was saying, today is the first time that I'm interacting with women from other federations. She had been in sports for so long. She had been in SuperSport, she had been in SuperSport, the football team. She had been in SuperSport, the organization itself. She's now working with SA20. But it was her first yesterday to meet with other women in other sports. And I think that's why we have to do these forums, so that we broaden our network and know who to invite for photography, for videography, for services of different, for coaching. We need to build the network here. Yesterday also, I had a speaker from UK who's very good at the UN when she was talking about resilience. Through my network, somebody says to me, she's coming to South Africa, she's coming to be with the NBA, the session which I will go and attend now after this conference. And this woman, we couldn't have paid for her to come to South Africa, but through our network, we were told that she's coming. And yesterday she came, and actually she was so powerful to encourage our young. We will meet again. Thank you.
She is one of our MVPs, Medambi Ravele, founder of the South African Women in Sport Foundation. Becela simshayele izandla. 3 things I've picked up from the media. Meravele, you were talking to me today as a journalist. You were poking me. She spoke about how we never broadcast. Ask yourself, because we like pointing fingers as to who's doing what and who's not doing what. Ask yourself, as a woman in sport, do you support women in sport activities? Today it's a tick, it shows you do that. But do you go to the games? Are you willing to take out that 100 rand and buy that ticket? Or you're gonna sit and say, no, the system is not working for us. For the system to work for us, we need to also Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, Dr. Ruth Monjane. She will be talking to us about the Women in Sport policy. She currently leads the Research and Policy Unit at the DSAC. Bengicela simshayeleni izandla.
Good morning, everybody. Opportunity and Meravele. Thank you so much, you and the team, to really drive that important agenda to make sure that today we'll be talking about women in sport policy. Thank you so much. Because right now, we're still working in vacuum, of which is not healthy. There should be something that informs the implementation or the guidance or direct points, or your speech covered most of my presentation. So I'm going to be very, very short. Thank you so much. And even the previous speaker, some of your discussion already are covered in my presentation. So I'll try by all means to be a bit faster so that I must not bore you. It has been mentioned that I'm from the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. I'm leading, I'm not an expert in terms of sport-related matters. So, as I did highlight to say, right now we're working in a vacuum. And according to the NDP, it talks about the triple challenges, which is inequality, unemployment, and poverty. So right now we're still dragging women and girls backwards because of this gender inequality. Or for each and every policy to be developed, or for each and every policy to be developed, there are some processes that we do follow In this case, there is a guidance or a framework approved by Cabinet in 2020, the National Development Policy on how should all the government departments follow or do when they develop a policy. And again, it promotes consistency and uniformity in all policies that we are developing. So now we all know that we must come up with a draft paper or a concept paper wherein we'll take it out, documentary review, that led us to see, will contribute to the intended outcomes and the impact, so that come 5 years down the line, we'll be able to conduct an impact evaluation study. So we do have that theory of change. We also consulted widely with the provinces, and again, in terms of the framework right now. Okay, now let's talk about the barriers to that. Some of the things, like for example, we talk about gender inequality and discrimination. It is there, we know that in terms of women and girls, there are few women in the leadership position as compared to the male counterpart. And then in terms of the biological, social factors and poverty, we know that in terms of our culture, women are supposed to appear in a certain manner. They're supposed to be, feminine, not muscular. That is not a woman. So that thing also hampers the women to also go and compete up to maybe internationally. Lack of women in funding, sponsorship, and remuneration. Ravel has already pointed that there is no equity in terms of resources. Bafana Bafana versus Banyana Banyana is a good example. Lack of women in leadership position, she already touched that. We talk about transgender, DSD, emotional, physical, and otherwise. And then gender stereotypes and lack of role models. She already highlighted that we don't see the women as being the role models, but it's men. That is also wrong. Lack of media representation and exposure, lack of access to grassroots level sports. And that's where we identify the talent at the grassroots level. So if we don't have a grassroots level, where are we going to identify the talent? So it's performance sport. We do lack that. Inadequate infrastructure as a means of access and lack of children's facilities. There are mothers who have children. They want to go and participate in some training, not of the space wherein you can put your children while you are still playing and know that your children will be safe there. So it's another a blockage there. Lack of equipment and appropriate attire. Really go the child or the youth coming from a poverty-stricken family. So that parent is a bit difficult for her to give the proper support to that youth. But all what you say is that there is still lack of parental and community support. Now, I did talk about the challenges as the barriers. What are the solutions? We call them actions or intervention. There should be gender equality and non-discrimination against women and girls in sport. In terms of addressing the socio-cultural, biological factors and poverty, we are saying stakeholders must. There is a word that will say must and should. So this one, when you say must, it means we really stresses the point that stakeholders must accommodate women from different socio-cultural and biological background. And then funding and sponsorship. We're talking about equity of resources. There is the term that is equity and equality. For us to arrive to equality, let's first check the equity. We know that women and men are not in the same space right now. So for me to make sure that they become on the same space, I cannot give that women and men the same apple. Okay? Then leadership. We say we need to encourage leadership. Meravel has already stated about that. Right now, there is 60% of women in SASCOC. That is very, very positive, and to acknowledge that. Still under actions or interventions, The issue of the DSD and gender verification, we are saying there should be guidelines that should address this so that it can allow the participants or the athletes with DSD. She needs to be allowed to also participate. Others are so talented, they can even go up to international level. So gender-based violence in sport, there should be a safeguarding policy and guidelines, and there should be some actions. If maybe the person is not following that, there should be some action taken against that. In other words, we're trying by all means to do away with gender-based violence in sport. The role models, gender stereotypes and media representation and advertisement. We are saying SASCOC and relevant stakeholders. I think for now you can see that for us to achieve and meet our goals, we need integration of services. We need collaboration of services. The department alone cannot win. SASCOC alone cannot win. So we need to be together and integrate our services, plan together, implement together. So we say SASCOC should always highlight positive changes and efforts in the media as a way of creating momentum around gender transformation and women in sport. Broadcasting, as Mirabel has already stated, regulation must make provision for dedicated broadcast of women's sport during the prime time. Still under intervention, school and community sport. There should be the intra and inter-sport competition. We start at the school. Even within communities, we know that we've got hubs. That's why we need to start practicing or taking part in a massive, so that identification of talent can be done there and unearthed there. Then that will lead to the high performance in sport. So sport facilities, equipment and transport, we need to have the good or adequate or sufficient sport facilities that will have correct maybe facilities like ablution facilities, as I did highlight, the showers, and are going to take care of the mother who will be coming along with a child. Human resources. Here I'm talking about human resource development. We need to make sure that we capacitate our women and girls in sport and recreation. Still under intervention, this is more or less what I've already explained, but the economic development, it means we need to allow or encourage or capacitate our women and girls in terms of business-related matters. They can do that. Now, instead of talking about the women's desk, we are saying Committee on Gender Equity in Sport and Government Structures. We need that in all provinces that will talk about gender equity or gender equality matters. So intra-governmental and stakeholder collaboration, as I did indicate, we need to implement our policy. Number one is that we need to make sure that there is equal access for both women, girls, men, boys, to sport participation and excellence. Here and support. Leadership and governance, say sport for development, hosting of sport events. Plan should have the activities as to how to arrive to the, or how to achieve the output, and the key responsibilities, who will be achieve that activity, and frame, and the costing plan. So now in terms of key focus area number one, which is equal access for women to sport participation and excellence. We said the key activity number one is we need to provide equal access for sport participation, national and DSEC in the provinces, COCTA, and traditional leaders. Who will be the delivery partners? It will be the DBE, DSD, Department of Correctional Services, federations in the provinces, SALGA, USA from the universities, clubs, local sport councils, you name them. So the implementation part, how are we going to implement this activity? We are saying the constitution and the policies should be aligned. We should come up with the committee on gender equity in sport. in all the provinces. Costing. Right now, we don't have really budget straight for this policy, but we are saying we're going to consider using the conditional grant, okay? And then still under this output, we've got the second activity, with clubs, federations, confederations, SASCOC, local sports council, and then the implementation part, it will monitor during implementation phase. And again, it is important to make sure that we make sure that people are aware of this policy. Awareness raise is important, or awareness campaigns. Now let me go to the evidence. Earlier on I did say we have collected baseline data, which will show us the indicators where we are right now. Before that, this is the theory of change that I did talk about, to say it has the components from the input, which is the resources, the activities, the outputs, the short, medium outcome, the intermediary outcome, the impact or the long term. So this is the evidence that we do have after we've collected the baseline data. We say in terms of the reports imbalance as we speak right now. Yes, we're getting there, but we're still having some problems there and there, which needs to be addressed. So in terms of the reported mean of junior males to female athletes in a mixed gender teams, we've got 3:1. Am I correct? I can't see properly. So this is the evidence showing the imbalance, which is unhealthy right now. When you talk about the gender equality, it's still somehow promoting gender inequality. So in conclusion, I want to present it to the executive management of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. Now it's going to be presented at the DG cluster. From there, it will be presented to the cabinet, and then it will be approved. So during implementation,
a big thanks to Dr. Ruth Mojalefa, representing the take, but we'll do that right after Abuti Lebogang Ramudige's presentation, so please bear with us, we are running behind with time. Right now, it is time for me to introduce our keynote speaker. We all know her as an international wheelchair tennis sensation, a Grand Slam winner. She's the first black South African to...
Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. I'm just recovering from, flu, so yeah. I feel a little bit ambushed by the team because I've just landed and they're like, can you please come through? And yet here I am really not feeling well. But yeah, let me just thank the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture in Gauteng for having, events like this, because they're really important to be addressing, women's issues which they've been neglected for quite some time in this country. So thank you for bringing this sort of things to the relevant people, considering that this room is full of women. So I commend you for keep doing things like this. And to all the speakers who spoke before me, I think they've addressed like all the relevant issues that affect women in sport. Even though for me I feel like I'm a different case study to everything that was spoken about. Those who don't know me, I was born with a congenital disability. I know they say I play wheelchair tennis, and yet here I'm walking, so you might be wondering what's going on. So yeah, I was born with a congenital disability, which I'm using a prosthetic leg, which is known as artificial leg. Yeah, mine happened to be wheelchair tennis, that I went for, and I I loved playing sport, for fun. So actually, I was playing sport as a hobby. As a hobby, I didn't inspire to or aspire to be an athlete. But yeah, so it took a lot of convincing for me to really take up wheelchair tennis as a career. But yeah, here I am today. We talking about Grand Slam champion. But yeah, so thanks to all those teachers who are at school and keep trying to, enforce this thing into learners, because you don't realize your potential while you're still young until you get older. So yeah, if there are any teachers in here, big up to you. Keep doing that, because it's quite a great work. That as kids we don't see our path, but you are there to guide us to really see that. So yeah, I mean, a lot has been spoken. I also feel like a lot has been touched, but I said I would be a different case study. So for me, what I'm gonna say to you guys today, or what I want you to take as a takeaway today, is that for who you are and what you stand for, it's all valid because you are capable. So keep that in mind. And again, talking about background, disadvantaged areas and communities. So all I want to say is your background doesn't define who you are, or it doesn't define your destiny. So your background doesn't bundle the two, and with that you can actually achieve what you want to achieve once you realize that dream. So yeah, you don't have to have it all figured out, but if you're talented, you can make it work for yourself. And that's how my story is, because starting at 19, playing the sport that I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. I was just going through the ropes. When they say go there, I go there, do this, I do that, until it was later in the years, in 2018. In 2018, obviously, the federation lost their huge sponsor that was, paying for us to go around the world and play tennis. And when that happened, they were like, we don't have money to pay for you guys anymore, So you guys gonna have to look for your own sponsorships or, financial backing and stuff like that. And we are just sitting there and we're like, what the hell? What are we gonna do? I mean, we didn't even know what we were doing. So where do you start, to look, for sponsorships? And what sort of knowledge did we even have to look for sponsorships? I mean, we had zero of that information at all, and then that's where, as a young adult, you are caught between what do? Do I quit? And obviously, like I said, I went to university. Do I fall back onto my degree? Like Elisa said, education is quite important, because that could be your backup sometimes when things don't go right in sport, because we know sport is a short career. So with everything that they're trying to get it right here, all the processes to develop athletes and give them a better life, sports will remain a short career. So it's not something you can solely, balance your life with. So you always need to have something to fall back on. So it's important as an athlete to always have a backup, which, we always say, education is just one of those things that you need to balance yourself with. But there's many other skills that you can learn, as an individual to empower yourself should things not work as an athlete, because honestly, it is a short career. So on that note, where we don't really have money anymore, so we are stuck with it. What do? Do we quit? Do we carry on? So those were the most difficult questions to answer for me personally. I don't know about other wheelchair tennis players by then. For me, I just felt like I just sat back and be like, who else is really doing this thing in the country, or who's playing tennis at the highest level? And by then, in 2018, we only had Kevin Anderson, who's an able-bodied player. But I look on to women's side. Do we even have anyone playing at Kevin Anderson's level in the country? we didn't have anyone. So the answer is, I'm just gonna force it. You know what I mean? Gonna force it or what? Fake it until you make it. So I feel like that's what I did. And with that, obviously, I just didn't keep quiet. And which is so important that as women in sport, most of us, we feel so shy to talk about our stories or to talk to other people, which it's so important for you to always, you know, share your story, because you never know who is listening. And for me, I consider myself really lucky that there were a few people that I reached to, and they responded because they knew my story, and that's how I felt like my career was sort of saved, you know? And also one thing I didn't know, the way I don't know if I was ignorant, but like I say, I was just playing tennis, but I didn't know much about it. And she's asking me like, you know, I thought it was a chilled conversation because I'm friends with all these journalists on a personal level. And when I played my first match at Wimbledon and I won that match, and like Mpumi said, that made me the first black South African woman to ever compete at Wimbledon. I didn't know that. I just saw social media buzzing and buzzing and buzzing and buzzing, and I'm just like, oh, really? So is that the case, you know? But that wasn't just the case, to just be like the first black South African woman to compete at Wimbledon. But the main issue here was just, how did she get to Wimbledon? I mean, Wimbledon of all tournaments, how did she go there alone? You know, obviously, yeah, a lot of people have to be pressed. You know, the government needed to answer. The federation needed to answer, of which I would like to believe all these policies they're talking about, what Ntambi said, is that they changed they're really talking about, that it needs to happen, because I don't think we want a case study like this where our most talented athletes are just going out there by themselves without support, you know? So that's just how the story broke. I mean, the journalists put it on Twitter. It was a big thing. I remember I couldn't even sleep. My phone is buzzing the whole night. Tomorrow I have a match. And I didn't realize how much of a big deal it was. Because for me, I'm just like, it will blow out. It's not a big deal. But then I come back home. And when you're being called on prime time on Metro FM, that's when you realize that everyone is listening now. So what do you do? Do you do damage control, or do you become honest with what's really going on? But for me, I was just sticking to my story. I'm just sticking to my agenda that, you know what, there's just no money. I feel like it's nobody's fault. There are no sponsors. Let's just address it that way. There's no sponsorships that are coming towards us as disabled athletes. So for me, that was just my story, that I stuck to it. And yeah, funny enough, you know, a lot of people were listening. People wanted to pull through. People wanted to donate. And yeah, luckily, there was a sport agency that was put on the spot. Obviously, they've ran like big accounts, bigger clients like Kaizer Chiefs, Bafana. They are put on the spot. Like when we have athletes like this who are so talented, who are really doing well, who are consistent, how come they can't, you know, get sponsorships? You know, so they were really pushed on the corner. And end of the story is that they just end up taking me through to help me with the issue of sponsorships. That's how it started. But because things were really complicated and toxic where I was with the federation, they end up having to sign me as one of their athletes. And remember, they don't even deal with individual athletes. But, you know, that's just how my life changed. And one thing that they did so well when they took me through, as I come in, going out to market me, they didn't market me as a black disabled. The pity party stories, they not gonna sell you. The pity party stories, they are not a good thing to brand yourself with, because you are more than that. So you are talented, you are a champion, you are capable, you understand? You work hard. So what needs to be rewarded is all that hard work, you understand? So That's also one thing that we need to learn from this, that telling all the pity party stories, yeah, grow up with a single mother, you know, it's not who you are. Your background is not who you are. So remember, you are the champion, and whenever you carry yourself as a champion, not as your background, not as your situation, because for me, from what I'm seeing with what my agency is doing, that's how we keep, you know, pocketing all these sponsors, because KG is just not a disabled black woman, but is a champion. And that's true, honestly. So we also need to look into that. And also just coming back to what Elisa was saying about lack of resources, lack of development, lack of a good support structure. Remember also what you can do for yourself, because sometimes we have the tendency to wait onto the government for all those things, or I don't know who we wait on to provide resources or to provide good structures. If that is not happening, for me, what I want you to take away with, where there's lack of resources, you need to improvise. As an athlete, that's if you want it so bad, you need to improvise. And what do I mean about improvising? So be creative. Like where I started, the school where I come from, there was no tennis court, yet I was forced to be playing tennis. So how did we play tennis? We had a school hall that didn't even have a tennis court, but what we did, we used to divide that hall with the chairs, and one stay on the other side, one stay on the other side, and that's how we're playing tennis, you know? So you need to be creative if you really want to make it in whatever area that you really want to achieve. And also you need to be open-minded, knowing that it's not always the case where everything is going to be provided on a silver platter. You understand? So if they don't give it to you, what are you going to do? Are you going to quit? So that's the question you need to answer. So by being open-minded, go beyond your means. Use what you can to become what you want to become. And also with that, obviously you'll be learning how to be resilient. You know, bouncing back is just the most important thing. You'll be trying to be creative and open-minded, but sometimes it doesn't seem like it's working out. And then the initial thing is to give up. But when you are resilient, you always have the ability to just like bounce back and start all over again. So, yeah, I mean, I can't believe you guys made me make notes today. And also touching on the support structure or the right people around you. Alisa touched on that. It's really important to really have people who want what is best for you. So also, I mean, even from school level, people who you hang around, they actually contribute to who you become. You understand? Some people can be distraction to what you want to become. Some people can, you know, hype you. You know, I have those friends who just hype me, even when I'm not feeling like my best. They'll be like, yo, you're the top dog. Yo, you're number one in Africa. That time, I'm not even feeling that way. But those are people who just make you realize your potential. So, and when they were talking about barriers to participation, I wish the schools can actually become that safer space, you know, mostly when we look at on that grassroots development level. If schools can become that safer space for actually kids to know that when I'm at school, I can express myself, I can become this, I can become this. Looking at, for me, everything started at school. And with all those teachers being mentors, mothers, sisters, guiding me through, I don't see how those programs can't start in the schools or those development centers back in communities. So if all that's not there, then we're gonna, yeah, I think we'll be able to achieve, you know, breaking down all those barriers of participation for women in sport from that level. And also to those who want to become athletes or professional athletes. I know we are so shy as athletes, but don't sit with your story. You never know who's listening. Share your story, because there might be someone somewhere listening, and that might just be your breakthrough. That might just be your breakthrough. I know journalists sometimes try to keep in touch, write stories, but mostly we feel like, I don't think I have a story to tell. I don't think it's a big deal, you know? But when you become open in that space and you share your story, someone's always listening, and that's just a way to really get yourself out there. So don't hold it to yourself, because sometimes we don't realize our potential as human beings simply because we are being clouded by our personalities and characters, that, and also maybe feeling like we don't belong there. But we need to build that belief within us that I am capable, you know, I can do this. And yeah, like Nike always say, just do it. Maybe because I'm a Nike athlete, but just do it, you know? So yeah, I really hope you guys can take something of what I've been saying home. Yeah, with that, I'm just gonna say thank you for everyone who really showed up today.
Khuthazo munjani, ladies and gents. Bengicela simshayeleni izandla. I wasn't paying when I said she's a multi-award winner. She won an award just last week, ne? Monira, just last week she won an award, right? 2 weeks ago. When she speaks, I hear passion for women, passion for a black child. I hope you guys took a lot today. I mean, what more? And may I also attest to the fact that she is not just an athlete, but she's aware of her brand, and she would always be out there, especially for us as a media. What I've noticed is that athletes don't want to speak to the media because you are afraid to tell your story, and you're afraid to live your truth and tell people what you're going through. This woman right here has made time for us as a media and shared her story and shared her truth, and look at her now. I know I've been speaking to her, she's not lying, she's made friends with most of us. I've been speaking to her since the days of Soweto TV where I used to work, and she would not say it's a community station, but should avail herself, be there and tell her story and inspire other young women, either from rural areas or from the townships. So she's a great inspiration, and we'd like to thank you for that. Can I just quickly open questions to the floor? If you've got guys have just a few questions to ask her, and yeah, like I said, we are running out of time, so we will just try to rush it. Do you guys have questions for Khuthazo Munjani? Any taker? All right, I see.
Hi, Khuthazo. I'm very excited to go back to my community where I come from, because we are in the ECD sector, early childhood development sector in sports. And I've recorded everything that your whole I could say teaching service actually that you've just done now, and please keep doing that, keep going to communities. I think what you just said now, a lot of people in communities need to hear. So it's not a question per se, but to say, well, all that you said today is a mouthful, and it can actually help so many people, young and old in communities, to actually get up and not use their background as a tool, an excuse not to do things and develop themselves. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's all about the mindset, you know. So how you shape your mindset, actually, that's what helps you overcome quite a lot of things. Because, like we're saying, I have a disability, but you know, there's no excuse because I see myself as human before the disabilities. Because disability doesn't, you know, hold me back not to be able to do certain things because I don't allow it. So the importance of mindset is it's quite important. Yeah, thanks.
One last person, please. One last question.
Hi, Kotato. My question to you is, what what is the most challenge that you faced while you were doing sports? What's that one challenge that like made you think of giving up, but then you didn't, and you just like pushed through?
The most biggest challenge that I've always had, and I still have. I mean, I'm not gonna make it go away because I want change, not necessarily for myself, but for any other sport women out there, is the issue of funding and sponsorship. So when I was saying that 2018, when the federation lost, you know, their biggest sponsor, that's where I realized how much money is needed, you know, just to keep up with playing tennis as a sport. That's why they call it a white sport, because it's quite expensive for people of color. We can't afford it. I don't want to lie, but we're not going to sit back and say we can't afford it. So that's why every time they're like, what are your challenges? I'll be like, sponsorship. But yeah, I do have sponsors now, good sponsors, but it's still a challenge because, yeah, it might have changed for me, but it hasn't changed for the next person who wants to play a sport like tennis. But it hasn't changed for women in sports, mostly in this country. So issue of funding and sponsorship remains the challenge until I see the change that I wish to see.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it morning? Okay, good morning. Oh, sorry. Good morning. Kgothatso. Yeah, my name is Sophie Dlamini, and I come from Atteridgeville, Soulsville. I'm a chairperson of Atteridgeville, Soulsville Local Sports Council, which is for ASREC in short. Now, Mina, I like challenging people. You know, you said a lot. Tell your story, but I'll tell my story later. Right now, I just want to challenge you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just want to challenge you, ne, Kotato, because Mina, as a woman, like I'm a chairperson. It's only me, a woman, and I'm happy to be here because, honestly speaking, we need to recruit more and more women. But anyway, like I said, I'll tell my story. So listen, we have tennis, ne, able tennis, but then recently, tennis able is dying, ne? And people go around asking me, what about disabled sports? What about disabled that and that? So, I mean, I just want to challenge you and open that door for people like yourself to Atteridgeville tennis. To say, how about if you can come to Atteridgeville, believe me, the doors are open, and maybe start disabled tennis. I know we will be more than happy. And like one lady's mentioning early childhood development, we're doing that. We have a Let's Play event coming on the 5th, whereby we're focusing on elementary sports. So, Mina, I just want to challenge you. The key I've got, the door you can enter, just come. I'll be more than happy. I know my community will be more than happy. Thank you very much.
Well, I will be more than happy to really come through. But I mean, as you know, at the moment, I'm still an active athlete, and I don't know if you are aware, all of my competitions or tournaments are not even in Africa. So I'm forever traveling. Like I was saying, they ambushed me to be here. Actually, I landed on Wednesday from the US, and I'm leaving in the next 2 weeks. On the 29th, I'm going to Asia. I'm going to play again. So my schedule is quite. So the challenge that I am putting up with Tennis South Africa as a federation to revive those centers we used to have for Well, for wheelchair tennis at the moment, because, well, I'm talking tennis at the moment, but I hear what you're saying. And also, I'm in the verge to launch my foundation, and which those disadvantaged areas, that's going to be the main focus area to really revive sports for people with disability. And as it grows, obviously, we want to integrate and a career and do some other work that I wish to do for, but I'm working on it, and it's a work in progress. And when time is right, we will definitely come through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khuthatso. Such a powerful story. You're a great inspiration. We feed a lot from such stories as black kids. Without wasting any time, I'll call upon Lebogang Ramudike to just unpack for us some grassroots female-centered sports initiatives, to give us a background and understanding in terms of what that entails. Cela nimshale nizandla.
Afternoon. Yeah, when you're a guy, the faces change, ne? But ifunani ndotala, ifunani. So if we're gonna succeed, we need men to be allies of women. Now I'm here to share the insights of professionally what I do. So, you know, in life, if you wanna share a success story, you must share something you've achieved. Don't come in and say, you know, you must go to Netbank. Have you done it? Have you achieved it? So my name is Lebu. I'm a social entrepreneur. As a social entrepreneur, I'm in the business of solving social problems. Our biggest challenge in the country is that women have no respectful participation in the economy. I say it as a man. We as men systematically close women out. How do we do it? By coming up with policy after policy after policy that's anti-women. So I read the Women in Sports policy. A lot of what I'll talk about highlights how we're going to unlock it. I've read the BEE Act, because companies must comply with that. And women are the key focus area. So December last year, I found a friend of mine who's in football, and I said, but why when women play at a grassroots level, they wear oversized jerseys, they have finished soccer balls, what's going on? And I asked a number of established academies that have a lot of money. And I asked, they said, but women don't want to pay subscription fees, etc. And my response was, have you looked at the population dynamics of the country? You have 51% women, 49 men. If you want to grow your ticket sales, a lot of young kids that get into sports are supported by their mothers. Their fathers are in shebeens and taverns, in brothels. We must call a spade, eh? Yeah. I think I've won the buy-in of women now. Because I could see already the activists are like, ifunani ndota. Yeah, department, Nistrila, evidence-based presentation. Emotional, I'll give you 200,000. Here you go, 50,000, 10,000. Evidence-based, I'll give you 10 million. So where our sports athletes not getting it right, their initiatives are not evidence-based, they are emotional. It's dead quiet. It's the truth. It's emotional. No, rasokola, kokasi. Okay, let's pull the unemployment stats. Every third young person now, degree or no degree, is unemployed. So if I'm a CEO of a company, who do I give the money to? You give the money to the one who is more organized. So the reason why I'm going to show you how I got the private sector to buy into this. I started this club in December on Christmas Day. On the, now we are in March. I've already got 10 commercial partners. Because you'll see how we got there. So I think where we need to get to is sports stars need brand and marketing specialists. You can't do it on your own. Artists that don't have representation, we don't take them serious. They're high risk. Because they are the only ones that have access to the bank account. These days, when they do sponsorships, they check your Instagram account. You are sitting in a conca and you are drinking 50 bottles. So when we give money here, that's where it's going. So social media etiquette is a critical one. Number 2, a word presentation is not attractive. I receive a number of community requests. They are unemployed graduates that did multimedia studies. They can help you write a presentation. They can help you put something attractive. We're not saying have an Ogilvy presentation, but it must be catchy, it must be fact-based, and it must be attractive. Because it demonstrates how committed you are to that dream. So when you use normal Excel, I read and I say, is it a money-making scheme or is this a passion-driven initiative? All my initiatives are passion-driven. So on the 24th of March, I play Mamelodi Sundowns. So my team plays at the GDL girls, so we're playing Sundowns for the first time. But my team is made up of young girls from Temba, Hammanskral, they are from Lihabile, they are from Harankua. They are girls that currently are playing with boys. I've gone to them individually and said, we're gonna create a team. And I can't afford soccer boots. I can't afford this. So I phoned a few of my friends. Last night, we raised 70,000 as friends. To say, Abadu Leldi budgets. Our communities need the ones with money. Are there any people in church here? Okay. Those that have the money are below par. Let's do things right. Let's go beat the Mutsepe family. When girls play in the township with boys. But what do boys do? They roughen them up. They change in the same change room with boys. So at the age of 12, 14, 16, that young girl has lost her privacy rights. Because when we are teammates, you can't say, hey, go outside. But if you put it, I heard that there will be festivals, there will be whatsoever. But one request, I want government to assist the sporting community. The gambling industry has a lot of money. When these young people go there, they tell them about NGOs. So if you say they must be sustainable and own their tomorrows, you can't do that with an NGO. So the first thing to do, the MEC of Sports, MEC of Economic Development, go to the gambling board. They have a sports development fund. Let that fund go to clubs, PTY, CCs, so that we can build an economy of sports. With an NGO, at the end of the financial year, you must spend all of that money. So then they say, Marakutaso Anazak. How will she make money with an NGO? You know, and then you have, she goes to Wimbledon, she does well, and then there's a TV ad by a government department. Pay her image rights. Pay to use her image. Remember, she's self-funded. You know, one of her funders was Ms. Anelembek. She gave her money. Don't worry, I was in that committee, I know about it. They gave her money to pursue her dream. So, those are the people that must do billboards with their image because they funded a struggle. So, I know I'm invited by government, but we must, if we are going to grow, we must come together. So, communications at government, when our athletes do well abroad, phone them, pay them 25,000 and say, we're going to use your image in a poster. So they make money off their... procedurally you meet the head of state, but FNB said, I'm paying you a lot of money. First right of refusal. They had to go to FNB. From FNB, they went to go meet the president. That industry knows its economic value. They don't play. So this is where our athletes need to get. Your image, Khutato, is your paycheck. Misappropriation of your image is wrong. People must pay to use your image. When they do success stories, they must consult you, they must pay you. So in 10 years, we can crafted this thing very well. Government, they know when they call your DJs in Clay, I worked with her, so I'll reference her. There won't be a potential lawsuit. She knows her value. She'll tell you, this is my rate, pay it or leave it. So athletes, can you stop compromising? If you charge 40,000 and they say 5,000, don't take it. They won't respect you. Next year, they're going to give you 10 again. I agree with you, that one. So if that's not your standard, don't take it. Stay home, watch Days of Our Lives, if it still plays. Yeah. So know your value. So I'm told to manage time. So how we achieve this? So I run an institution called Talent Link. We are a football for good institution. So we run mentorship programs where no one pays and money will fall. So I worked with a boys mentorship program. So we use football to address our socio-economic challenges because we are not an island. Sports, crime, we must all collaborate to solve our social ills. So, no, not we must commit crime, but I'm saying the crime prevention just cluster, we must collaborate. Well, when I've got a very sharp ear. So, if you look at the article, Miss South Africa is at the bottom, we are right in the middle. So when you believe in your story, they will articulate it the way you want it. Miss South Africa has done international as a backer. I use my own money and friends, but we get more coverage because we are authentic and real. I think let's start selling authentic stories. Let's not try and return the wheel because no one will listen to you. So in these young boys have won all these leagues. Then this is the same blueprint you take. You say, girls, let's do this. So 1-2 players have gone to the PSL. So after this, I said, but it's now time for girls. That's why it was born in December. That, okay, boys, you are playing for big teams now. When are we going to get an inclusive national team? Currently, the national team for girls is supplied by Janine van Veek's team, Tax, Mamelodi Sundowns, Economy. If 5 big clubs, so it means if you don't get in these 5 clubs, you will never represent your country. That's what it means. So we took a decision to say, let's challenge the status quo. Let's get girls in it. So we developed an evidence-based model to say we will respond to the Sustainable Development Goals. Because we don't want to get involved in politics. Or what. We're not saying sports master plan, what. The UN Sustainable Development Goals connect all of us as human, as a people. So we've opted to be neutral because we don't want to get in the politics. If the private sector is wrong today, we deal with them. If government is wrong, we deal with them. So we don't accept money to push agendas that don't make sense to our communities. Hence why a lot of my projects are self-funded to maintain the autonomy. Wrong is wrong. So we built our strategy to say these are the lived realities that women are faced with. So a young girl located in these societies, mentally, she has given up because every day they beat my mother here. My dreams and aspirations are secondary. So it's not a pity party, but you see, when we deal with facts as a nation, we will correct. So these are cases opened by women. You can see the communities where they are coming from. So resources must respond to these. This is South Africa's top 30 most violent communities. So go in there, make a difference. So what we decided to do is, you can't run a girl football club and not respond to the needs of women. We'll be the first soccer club to introduce a sports bra for all our players. So their uniform arrives from Wednesday from Cape Town, from Adidas. We've done a deal with them. So every child has submitted their boot size, so no oversize will be tolerated. You cannot transform and then give them. And these jerseys, I refer to them as first generation jerseys. In football, girls get fourth generation jerseys. 4 men have worn it and then you are the fourth. So they will be the first. On Friday, we have, and I said, no, I don't want to call you short. She's like, no, that's my street name. So I call her Medlulu. So she's coming to hand over the kids to them, because introducing is at the national team. So these are the institutions we've approached and they've bought into the vision. Over a 30-day period. Don't worry, we read their PE scorecard and we said you are wrong here, 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 here. They'll support you. So Curo will be the whole school. So the negotiation we're doing with Curo is that from 2025, we want to introduce a football scholarship program. We're going to pilot with Curo Hazeltine. So we've done a deal to say, give them 50% off, we'll give you the rest of the money. But priority must be to the... You look at the Springboks. Have you seen a Springbok player on the front page with a scandal? Proper schooling. Bafana Bafana, Begeli Beki. Yes, the foundation was not the rent, but they still give it to them. Our rural communities to participate there, not come there during open day or a career day, let's go to Curo. They must be there. So we changed the mindset. So I'm 3 hours late. And if you want to remove the money, remove the money. But let's not deviate from the principle. I committed to the department that we will speak to the women. Why change now? So where I'll go to now is, so with sponsorships, there are different categories. So if you look at Galitos, they are in the food business. So when you go to Galitos, say, give me food. With a bad economy, there isn't a lot of money. Especially the food and beverage industry, because of lockdown restrictions, they are recovering from a 2-year non-economic activity, because we're all told eat morojo, eat this to avoid COVID. So the fast food chain didn't make money. But if you say to them, I have 60 players, give me food. Because the reason why teams lose matches is because half the players play hungry. So approach a Nando's, a Carlitos, speak to the store manager. I have a team next door, please donate food. Don't give me money, give me your food. And then the other teams, they are hungry. When your team is full, you win 10-0. Wabona care. So sponsorships have different categories. I'll use football. So in football, the most expensive is the chest. And I see a lot of teams, the department gives you a jersey and they put their logo here. I will grow up. This is the most expensive. So TV, billboards, radio exposure, the going rate is between 6 and 7 million a season. Remember, you must calculate how many of your players are going to wear that jersey. So they mustn't give you a kit and write their name here. You must refuse. They must write it here in small. If they want it here, they must pay you. So I think we must also change the handout mentality. Know your value. Sleeve 4.2 million. If you have media, you have print, they pay that a season. But obviously, you must then account for what are you going to use the money for. So you then articulate how you get to this amount. So if you look at the costing, it's pro-development. It's not self-enrichment. There's no Bentley there. There's no house in Mhlanga there. It's about development. Medics want their money. Psychologists want their money. So you must budget for it. So sleeve, they sit on the side. And then that's what you then say, that's the value. But then they ask you, what do I get in return? So, you're from SABC, ne? Yes. The national broadcaster has a national mandate to support all of us as South Africans. I think we must get to a point where community teams are given pro bono airtime to promote their goodwill in programs, so they can be appealing to sponsors. Because I give you 2 million, who will know I gave you 2 million? But if that person says to me, Radio 2000, Mthidisi Mohono, for example, will donate 10 minutes of on-air airtime to give community teams exposure, then I can put that money because I can measure the ROI. So, government and the national broadcaster must forge a pro-grassroots collaboration where we, instead of us talking more about government officials, hi, I'm Minister Mamang, let's meet in Bushbuck Ridge, why are we not giving that airtime to a community team? So they market their services, because they are an extended version of the work of government. So ROIs, so if I give you a jersey, you can't wake up tomorrow and go to another store and buy another jersey. You are tied into it. So the relationship we have with Adidas, from the sneaker all the way to the bra, it can only be Adidas. Hence the girls are given even match boots on the day. So we avoid brand clashes. So I won't go beyond this. I think the lesson here is, as community organizations, we must know our value, protect our value. Our athletes, let's protect our images. Being on a billboard, it's not a cool thing. Deal with Sprite. His face is there. They've paid him millions. He did a song for MTN, they paid him 7 million. Because he knows his value. So I would ask government, and I'll make the time, let's get to a point where we create one proposal that we can take to the private sector that will benefit all these community organizations. And I don't want money. I'll do it as a pro bono thing. I'll help them write it. They will go. Then from there, they nominate the recipients. Why are our NGOs not getting money? They don't know how to write commercially bankable proposals. They don't have that ability. We need to get to a point where we hold your hand. I will hold your hand, because if women succeed, there's stability in the country. If I'll repeat, if women succeed, there is economic stability. Because women invest in their households. Women invest in their households. Men invest in shebeens and brothels. So to reduce the social grant dependence, we must empower women. But we should do it in a way that government says, we have 2 rand. Private sector, how much do you have? We can't go there with an empty cap. Rather, let's cancel the music festivals and give community sporting organizations money. Because they stab each other at those festivals. It's a cost. So let's work together. So I will engage with officials at the department. You must hold us accountable. Give us 6 months. If it doesn't happen, it means they didn't honor the meeting. Because we can't just sit here, dialogue, go home. We meet again next year this time. Let's meet next year this time, and we say we had 40 organizations in this scheme. They each got 2 million, 2 million, 2 million, 2 million towards the advancement of inclusive sports. Then we are going somewhere. What is some load shedding? So, and our community members are here diligently so. because they believe in making a difference in their communities. If we're going to remove stumbling blocks, help them write a bankable business plan. Finished. That's it. You've got sports trust. They go around saying, we got money, we want projects. Let's go there. Money must go to the right people. The right people are here. People who are getting money, they use a navigation to go to Deep Sloot. While we're now leading, we go Deep Sloot. Let's give you the money. The only way we're going to get women to participate, we must trust you with the money. Not with policies, with the money. Money in the bank. And we must move from NGOs to PTYs. You know one thing I like about a PTY? If you misuse the money, they'll sue you. NGO, you are heavily protected. That's why there is a mismanagement of money, of lotto money in the NGO value chain. It's only now that the hawks are coming, they're like, hey, inzima, lento, inzima. They guide the receipt, they guide the invoice. So, in closing, let's not give up. Let's work as one. Days of competing among ourselves as grassroots advocates won't take us anywhere. One business plan, one funding opportunity. Then the money is then shared. Competition won't take us anywhere. In a male-dominated football or sports value chain, women must come together. And you write one business plan, and then the money, then that business plan. The department can, they create special accounts. They can be recipients of that money. And then they can't tell you about 30 days. It's not their money. They are holding proxy. So they must give you that money to do the work. So that's my short session to say we mustn't give up. The future is bright. Banyana has done what Bafana can't do. Last 16 World Cup. So with Bafana, when you work with them, on the bench you need a calculator. You must calculate points. If Morocco gets 4, we must get 3, you must get 2, we must get 4, must get 5. That's why they need statisticians. Girls, we don't need that. It's clear cut. 1, 2, next round. So we must just do it and push. So sometimes we must have uncomfortable conversations to move us forward. Yes. Usually I don't go to a dialogue because there's nothing tangible. Now I'm making a commitment and binding the department. We are going to work on a proposal and we go knock at Discovery because they fund a lot of sports activities. All the big businesses in Sentin fall under the jurisdiction of Gauteng. Each CEO must pledge R1 million. We will achieve this. But the money must go to organizations, not politically connected men who are chairpersons of branches. We want real people here. Rather bona ko politiki ba fane di 1 million at a branch level. Yeah, we must share this money here so that in 10 years' time, you can all live comfortable lives. This thing of glorifying an informal settlement is wrong. We must all squeeze the incentive. They must create another centine so we all stay there. But the only way our sportsmen and women, the NGO thing, it's a pity party. It must come to an end. It's not working. I end here. Thank you, guys.
Please don't leave. Thank you so much for that sound speech. You've touched on very pertinent issues. Do you guys have questions for him? I'll just take at least 2 questions for Abuti Lebogang, but just before I do that, let me acknowledge Mayor Marisa Rose, who is the acting chief director at Sports and Rec, and friend Hilton Smith, our football legend, as well as Monira Ramatula, founder of Footballing Girls. Do you have questions, guys? Okay, I see a taker.
Okay. Dumela Lebogang. Good morning, ladies and other gentlemen in the room. Two quick ones. I don't want to waste your time. You are very committed. men
Don't
this
worry,
morning.
I'm here for you.
Are you here? Okay. I get you mentioned Hore, you are at another conversation this morning.
They'll wait.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for that spirit, Abuti, and thank you for sharing your intellectual knowledge and for putting yourself out there to make yourself available to women in Gauteng. Just two requests from my side. I know that part of your presentation is your intellectual property, but are you able to share it with us? Because a lot of the times, parts of it that you're comfortable with, because when we speak, we tend to almost not have the facts on hand to say, this is why I would want you to be a brand as a sports club. I come from government at grassroots level. So when we speak to clubs around affiliating and properly constituting themselves, going back to conversation Yaha Kotazo when she said brand management, you can't sell yourself as a bankable product if you don't have a brand. So your presentation covered on that quite a bit. So sharing it will be something that we can impart to local structures. And also just your contact details, so that outside of this conversation, we are able to then see how you can assist those of us who are 2 minutes to basically hitting the ground running, so that we can start capacity I want to do, but I don't know how to do it. So just those two things from my side. Kialo.
I think, thank you for that. I think the best way, the reason why I said I'm going to meet with the department and we create one big plan, because I'm going to do this pro bono, I want us to do it as a blanket approach, where we start with the department. So we work on what are the priority programs, what do they cost, where do we get the money. Then organizations can follow the due process of getting that money. Or you find even the private sector can say, okay, we won't give government the money, we will create this special facility. They must just bring an endorsement letter from the department, and they are, because remember, the money must go to organizations that are doing work. A non-compliant organization, it's a waste of money. If you are not participating in the value chain, why do we give you the money? So this, because we're launching on the 18th, I took a risk by flighting this year, but we have to honor launch days. Then post that, remember whatever we're gonna write for the department, more or less mirrors what you are seeing, but it's broader than just soccer. Because I am more obsessed with women from different sporting organizations. So everyone can equally participate. If you look at Adidas, they do athletics, they do this, they do that. You could approach them and say, give us kit at wholesale, not at retail. So, but let's do it to benefit organizations.
Okay, thank you so much, Lebu, for the response. There's another question this side, over here. Hola, I'm here. Okay, so I'll just stand. My name is Pindile Duma. I'm a soccer legend in South Africa, a coach and an administrator. I have a question, but also in a form of a request for the House, particularly for your intervention to, work together with the department in order to bring in more capacity or support for development via women's sports or sports particularly. As a country, we don't have training and development systems in our public schools, especially in the rurals and the townships. I've been conducting my research for the past, say, 5 years, going to different provinces in the rurals and the townships, and I've actually established, it's a fact, there is no training and development systems in the public schools, in the rurals, and the townships. I've worked for private schools to make money. I had to work family, and that hurt me a lot. Or doing justice to that area in part, because guys, I've worked for public schools. Voluntarily, there's Elufense Girls High in Soweto. I've volunteered for Prudence Secondary in Tladi, and many other schools in the rurals, to see what actually is the problem. Because after playing for the schools in the townships, and there was no money. So you go there, they tell you, no, but sorry, we don't have money for you. So I worked for 4 years in public schools, in the townships, and I never got a cent. And I had to go and work in the private schools, Kuro. I'm listening to your presentation and you're saying you have to take those girls to Kuro. What is wrong with the schools where they are coming from? Why can't we fix the system in our public schools, in the rurals and the townships? Because number one, we're not investing in development. You go to a private school, I will just quote one of the former legends, who coached Figile Stole, who was once upon a time my coach. I worked with Figile Yeshiva and Glen Hazel, where we were coaching kids there. You go, you report, a teacher doesn't coach. There's a coach who is hired by the department or the school to coach, to focus on developing sports. We're listening to most of the athletes that spoke now in the morning. I'm one of the people I know. We talk about social ills. Abantwana bethu, they're in drugs now. They smoke, they drink, they impregnate each other because they are bored at the schools. There's no to speak to infrastructure development in the townships and the rurals. If it doesn't speak to training and development where coaches are hired, the Department of Education must hire coaches and deploy coaches to the public schools. As a female coach, I was a strong. The townships and the rurals were neglected because there's nothing for them. So I'm asking the House to say, until we rectify that error as a country, we will not be able to. Why townships? No. Why? Why? And then when unokazi nwakho lapha endlini ongasebenzi ingane yakhe ifunda lapha elokishini because she can't afford. Now this child is being disadvantaged. So it's the old apartheid system that is still in place. Gore bana ba rona in the townships and the rurals, they're not given the privilege that they deserve. You can't also because when kids go for, I mean, guys, I've worked for public for the schools in the Malokshini. The only time they go for some sort of training, casual training, is when they are going for your Mutipe Cup, your what is this other cup, Mr. Prize Cup. Nakona bazo a day before, an athlete has to train at least not less than 3 times a week. I'm talking to athletes in the house. She spoke about the importance of having a coach. She spoke about being stranded without a coach. Because umntwana omunye agazazi until abonis ukuthi Ruth. So that I can ask ukuthi mama to private schools to fund my interventions that I was doing in the public schools. I would take close to 7,000 of my salary to pay for a month and that we have in the country. We've got talent, but we're not this thing. That money is guys. Thank you.
Leader, no, she's very passionate. I like that. Also get the context of where I'm coming from. Remember, I don't have a government personnel number. I'm a concerned South African over basic education. But as a concerned South African with limited resources, because remember now on the 24th I implement. So to go meet this one, that one, 5 years gone. So in life, start somewhere, you influence the change. We spend more time in boardrooms debating that same scenario that you are raising, but there's no implementation. So us working with Kuro, we are not at fault. It's a democratic country. So, and as a person who has their own resources, you channel where you get value. So if I can get a young girl to study at Kuro, I've changed their life. Instead of me sitting around and saying, you know, one day kuzolunga, let's do this, I'm doing it now. Then when basic education is ready and they've the right systems, then we can speak. Now I'm an implementer. I'm not, I don't overanalyze issues that won't take me anywhere. So as a retired footballer, I will make it my mission. You are in Soweto, ne? So we will speak offline and see how we can assist. So currently I've got 4 coaches. They are all female. So with that wealth of knowledge from Sundowns, let's speak offline. I mean, we pay our coaches 15,000 a month. Yes. Equal pay, we are already doing it. Yes, because at a grassroots, so we call it a minimum wage for a coach. It's a minimum wage. And remember the 15 excludes, when we get sponsors, as employees of the club, they are entitled to 5% of the total sponsorships accrued. But the 5% they must put into an investment account because they don't need it now. They've got 15,000. My head coach, we pay for her apartment. We've reduced costs that will lead to her not having money. But in life, you can't solve for it. Imali yetu, we believe in change. Next question. Oh, okay, I bet you know more.
Okay.
They'll give you my email.
I mean, we have a cooperative of women in family money that COJ helped to get training for swimming because kids in the townships don't have opportunity for swimming. But now we can't go anymore because now there is no funding for transport. I have to go to Rulta, and Rulta, also have their own issues and all that. And now again, I must take money from my pocket to take these kids. Now we are no longer going for swimming lesson. They went once, but they don't afford. So I'm also against the taking of these opportunities and empowering institutions where school fees high, already 3,000 rand. How can we help the current facilities that they're having to be able to cater for kids in those townships?
Do you want to take that? I'll repeat again. I am not government. I am not government. No. So my team is based in Pretoria. So Deep Sloot is outside my jurisdiction. Dale Steyn Seat is your neighbor. Go to Dale Steyn. Good. So I think what I want us to get, if we're going to do away with this pity party attitude, be facts-based. You are outside my...
I work for the Gauteng Department of Sport, Arts, Culture and Recreation. There is going to be not using the time that we are having, to our maximum. All of us have things on our chest. But can we let the people that are imparting best practices so that we can absorb? Gave you tips, right? He is not responsible. In fact, he comes to us. He's been saying throughout, he's going to come to us, fight us. We will wait for him as well. So let's not fight for best practices, or let's not fight best practices. We are here. My colleague, Ms. Marisa Rose, is here as well. We will take your questions. We held this for you, but let's not spend time fighting and not giving. Now the panels, there's great ladies that are here. Now I'm going to be having to say to Bumi, 2 minutes. Why? Because we are taking out what is on our chest. 8 years we've been doing that. And we've been trying to do different dynamics of this dialogue so that ladies can get as much information as possible. So you will advise us after this, how best do you want us to do this? But for now, can we thank Ndate Lebogang? Thank you. Also, our MC, she's working. Colleagues, I am here and I'm saying now I'm going to have to take charge so that we can get as much as possible. I've indicated that you are also important. She, in another space, you are her client. You, in another space, there are people who are your clients here. So let's give each other space to learn, please. I am going to have to ask that the tea is there. We need 5 minutes, move around, come back so that we can give the ladies that are going to be on the Trailblazer opportunity. Some of you need to learn that there are different careers out there. Let's give these ladies space to tell us about them so that we don't only focus on netball and soccer. Okay, thank you so much. 5 minutes and we will start, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, Bumi, I'm going to hand over to you. Ladies, can we quietly get back to our seats now? The session is going to start. Over to you, Bumi.
We testing mics. Are we audible? 1, 2, 1, 2. Am I audible? Am I audible? 1, 2. One, two, 1, 2. Oh, yeah, we're back. Welcome back, ladies, for our first panel discussion. Sitting next to me here, they're doing massive stuff within different sporting codes. We've got rugby represented, we've got basketball also represented. On my far right, that's Michelle Mukhanedi. She is a wheelchair basketball sensation. And then in the middle there, the famous Stacey Lee May, professional car spinner, a drifter and a stunt driver. Right here, right beside me, it is Lusanda Nduke, aka Dura, from Bulls Diaries. She's the captain. Ladies, thank you so much for making time out. You can just greet people quickly and we will get into it.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? This is Lusana Tumke. I am a professional rugby player contracted by the Springbok Women, which is the national team, and the Bulls Daisies, who are currently the champions of IPL, Inter-Provincial Women's League. That long talk. Hello, everyone. This is Lusana Tumke. I am a professional rugby player contracted by the Springbok Women's team and Bulls Daisies, who are currently the champions of Women's Inter-Provincial League.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stacey Lee May. I'm a professional car spinner, stunt driver, and drifter. I've represented South Africa in many countries around the world, and I just want to make sure women and girls know that motorsport is also a sport, and it's something that you can get into, and it is possible if you believe in yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Michelle Masafako Moranedi, and I'm a wheelchair basketball player, and I've represented South Africa in many occasions, and yeah.
Time out to talk to us and inspire us this afternoon. I'm going to start with you, Michelle, all the way from Limpopo, Sekhukhune. Talk to us, tell us about your special story, how you got into wheelchair basketball as a student at the University of Johannesburg.
So Michelle Masafako Moranedi, wheelchair basketball, right? So I wasn't always disabled, right? So 2018, I was able to walk till 2018 till an incident happened, and it resulted in myself being unable to walk again, right? So from that moment, I decided that it's not gonna stop me from doing what I wanna do. So I've always been a sports fanatic, right? So before I got injured, I wanted to play soccer, you know, because I was inspired by the likes of Jane, Khatlana, and yeah, when that dream passed me, I just decided that it just can't be the end of me. So when I got to rehab, actually, when my incident happened in 2018, I was doing my grade 11, right? So when that happened, I had to redo my grade 11, had to like start over my life. and redo my grade 11 and get to a new school. So I redid my grade 11, and during my rehab period, I met wheelchair basketball. So my physiotherapist and my OTs introduced me to wheelchair basketball, and I actually didn't think it was an actual sport because it's basketball, right? So when I heard about it, and this one time, one of my physios took me to one of the courts where they play wheelchair basketball, which is in Mandeville in Bez Valley. So I saw the ladies play and some gentlemen play, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe it. It's ecstatic how they just look so free on the court, right? Like they seem like they could do anything and be anything. So that's how the court makes me feel. It makes me feel like I could live the impossible. I technically am, but it's amazing. So that happens under 19, which takes place every December, right? So I took place in that, and Gauteng won their first gold medal in like a long time. So that was amazing, right? And then after that, a few months passed by, and I got selected to play for the national team. So that's big because I just started. I was still learning, right? So I just started and got selected for the national team, and that's when everything started to take off. That was my matric year. Started playing for the national team, and yeah, it was amazing. And there was a time had to go to Commonwealth, right? I got selected to play at Commonwealth, where I got to be the captain for the team, and that was ecstatic because we got to play against one of the most decorated players, right? One of the most dominant countries, the likes of England, Scotland. That's where the dominance comes from with wheelchair basketball. Because in South Africa, we're not as strong as the British, as they have more equipment, better equipment, and that wheelchair basketball is all about equipment, right? It's all about equipment. So the better the chair you have, the better you're gonna perform on the court. So that's wheelchair basketball, and yeah. And after my matric year, I applied at UJ, and yeah, I'm studying engineering right now at UJ, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but yeah. So like, you have to balance in life. It can't be all sports. Like KG said, like sports has a very short lifespan, right? So I'm studying at UJ and I'm playing basketball. It's hectic because I have to train and study, and it's a lot of work. But yeah, I think if you really want something that bad, you're gonna just put your mind into it. It's especially when you're driven by love. You just have to just keep on pushing yourself. So that happened. So that's technically who I am, what I'm about. But yeah.
A quick one before we open to the floor. Playing basketball, what has it taught you about you?
So playing basketball, wheelchair basketball to be specific, it has taught me that anything is possible, right? Don't let anybody else tell you what you can't or can't do, no matter where you are in life, right? Everything in life happens for you, right? No matter how ugly it might look, but then it's happening for you, even if you don't see the bigger picture at that moment. Just trust yourself, just believe in the plan, and you will do great things.
Thank you very much. On to Stacy. I want us to talk about motorsports and the double standards within the motorsports fraternity. One, you'd find that it's easy for a person like me to watch Lewis Hamilton race it out with Max Verstappen, and I find that.
Can you hear me? So I feel that the double standards in motorsport and stunts come from people that don't understand us, like burning it out, and we came and we changed the perception of spinning, but some people still have the mindset that people's misconception is what they think spinning should be or what they think stunts should be, but it's so much more than that. It's keeping our young kids off the streets, it's keeping them away from drugs, it's keeping them away from alcohol. It's a family-orientated sport and a family-orientated lifestyle, because I'm 28 years old. My mom's sitting right there, my dad's downstairs. I would never go anywhere without my parents, especially do a spin show or do a stunt show or do a drift show. I travel the world, travel with my dad. So people don't see that, keeps you away from the stigma of being in the streets and being a gangster and, you know, running around, because I come from El Dorado Park and that's what El Dorado Park is known for. So I'm trying that much from the ground and we'd be pulled over. Why? Nobody understands why, because they feel we're gangsters because we're dropping our cars to the ground. I don't feel that way. It's my passion. It's what I'm passionate about. So allow me to be myself and express myself through what I love.
Awesome stuff. And how do you make a living off the?
I've been very blessed in my motorsport career. I started spinning at the age of 16. I did my first ad in 2015. I was 17 years old, and that's where I make my living. I do ads, I run campaigns, I do events and shows to showcase my talent and show people around the world what South Africa is made of, you know, representing the country. I traveled to the USA in 2018 to work with Charlize Theron in a American racing competition called Hyperdrive, and that's what also kickstarted my career into getting sponsorships, and the sponsors helped me maintain my lifestyle and my racing career.
Awesome stuff. Lusanda ngizakuwe vele. Captain of the Blues Daisies, right? I think the biggest elephant when it comes to rugby has always been transformation. First things first, with plan to female athletes, how do you find your space and how far are we with regards to transformation in rugby?
I think a lot has improved in women's rugby, and I think I must give credit to the ladies that started it for us. Ladies like Onomsebenzi Tsotsobe, Miss Mandisa Williams, Ulala, who's currently here at this moment. They have done very well for the country, thing that we ever dreamed of. I am currently, control has changed already, and it's an ongoing change that we want to see, and we're also doing it for the next generations as well.
Now talk to us.
Especially for the world needs to know about us. You need to say a lot about yourself, as it was mentioned earlier on that don't be afraid to say your background. Don't be to build your brand, but with that, always think of the next generation. We're getting old, and surely the kids that are coming in also want to be in this, the same setup that we are. So it is very important to always look back where you come from, and that can also help in terms of building your own brand.
Ladies, our trailblazers, they are here. Let's feed from them. Let's talk to them. If you've got questions, bring them on. Let's hear what they have to say. Any questions? No takers. Are you guys afraid to ask? Oh, I see a hand there. No, it's fine. You guys can keep your mics because the questions are coming to you. Yeah, I'll take one each.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lala. As Dumke mentioned, mine is basically a testimonial on what she said. She's coming from the Eastern Cape. I'm also coming to him. She was still playing for the under-20s, but we played together during the provincial games, and we were playing actually the same position, and it was not easy. I was a bit older that time, and she was. Today, I am Blue Bulls development side coordinator, and I'm coming from the Eastern, and I am coordinating women's rugby, the development side from the Blue Bulls. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I think, now, ladies. So just from my side, inspiration from it. So well done. Let's give them a round. I think my question would be to Stacey, like, obviously, ladies in the room, you know, rugby and basketball, there's obviously more access to those sports. We can go to federations, we can ask about it. But when it comes to motorsports, where do we go? How do we get information on that?
So there's not really a place you can go to, but my mom and I are open to welcoming any young woman that want to join motorsport. We actually run a drift school. It's called Scallywags Drift Academy, where we want to take on younger girls and mentor them and carve them, shape them into the motorsport athletes that they can become.
Okay, ladies, I want to check with you if there's anything that you guys would like to impart or share with the people that you're inspiring right now. I'll start from you, Michelle.
So from my side, I would like to advise everyone here. I would like to ask everybody here to just support other sports, like the likes of wheelchair basketball. I don't think any of you guys actually knew that wheelchair basketball exists, right? And that's because, I don't know, it's maybe it's because we're not advertised enough or we're not seen enough, but wheelchair basketball is there and there's so many players with potential, but then we lack funding. We lack a lot of funding, and because the national team only has one sponsor, right, which is SASO, control of 4 programs, and that is quite a lot, and that has happened for like years now. And I'm asking that people should just give in, you know, people should just like be curious and just not think that there's only one sport or like soccer but there's other sports out there, and I think you guys need to just, yeah.
And we came together and we changed that. So if we can stand together as women in sports, we can change the way people see us and the way people think about us, because the sky is not the limit, the universe is. So just go after your dreams. And
I would say that don't be afraid to take risk, especially for the mothers that are here. Just make sure your school, where is she? If she's not at school, it's not at the field, where is she? Because I think we played a very huge role in the kids, which happened a very long time ago. I think that's simply because we don't talk much about it. So if we can talk more about sport, women in sport in general, and make sure that we build our kids through sport. We raise our kids through sport. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies, we're very proud of you. Keep doing the amazing work that you guys are doing. Don't stop, especially representing South Africa all over the world and representing a young girl from the township, a young girl of color from a rural area. When they look at you guys, they think, if they can do it, I also can do it. So it's a good motivation. Thank you, very pleased. Bengicela sibashayeleni izandla one last time. I'm gonna take one last question. Very last question. Are we good? Okay. Right now, ladies and a few gents that are joining us today, I'm going to call upon Dr. Kitumetse Mashego just to give us a presentation about tapping into the mind to finish strong. We all want to finish strong. Let's allow her to come here and share with us and give us the tips as to how do we hold on and eventually finish strong. Cela simshayeleni izandla.
Thing to anybody. I'm actually a nice person. So I'm going to talk about the power of the mind and how to tap into it to finish strong. Just a little bit of background about me. So I am a former sprinter and netball player. So like Alisa, I was sprinting 1 and the 2, and then I moved on to the 400 meters, and that's where I actually learned how to tap into the mind, because that race is the most ruthless of races that was ever created. And I don't know how people do it with the hurdles, right? Where they're running it and they're jumping hurdles while doing it. So that's where I actually learned how to tap into the mind. And the lessons I learned from that race, I take into my work as a therapist and also in my life. So I've got, so I started school at 4, matriculated at 16, and at the age of 23, I was probably one of the youngest clinical psychologists. I think at that time, there was no Twitter and trending things. That's how old I am. I think I matriculated in 1998, so I don't look my age. So so I got my master's in 2005. So I have been working as a clinical and sports psychologist since 2005. And I've been, so in my head, I've got shelves of people's stories from all over the world. And I always say to people, I don't remember names sometimes, but I never forget a story and someone's face. I never forget how therapy made you feel and also how you were when we terminated the therapy. So that's just how, I ended, I'm so passionate about the work that I do. And then so when I started, I was actually doing optometry. So when I moved to, because I wanted to be a competitive athlete doing the 100 and the 2 and the 4, but I was actually specializing in the 4 at that time. And I was also a netball player. So when I moved, I studied at Rao. I remember I was student number 7 when I applied in 1999, and I was then taken for the course. And but during the course, I realized that I actually want to have a close relationship with my clients. So then that's why I ventured and moved into a BSc in psychology and human physiology. And I was actually one of the first only the first student to graduate with that. For those who don't know, Rao is now called UJ. I'm also exposing my age. People are wondering, what is Rao? It's now UJ Auckland Park campus. So when I went there, and then I graduated in that, and when I finished, I remember when I did the 3rd year course, they did not have the human physiology code. Right, with academia, when you do the course must be coded so that you can graduate. So when I did my 3rd year, I was only doing psychology, and then after that, so it was like really a long year because it was one course. And I remember for some reason, when you're supposed to just stand out. I remember chatting to I was fortunate enough that my dad was a professor in zoology, so he knew the rector. So then chatted to them and said, but I cannot come back here and do 1 year of human physiology only. You guys have to admit me into the honors as I qualify, so can I please do the honors degree together with the 3rd year of human physiology? And remember at that time, I'm only 18 or 19 at that time in my 3rd year, and they agreed. But now the thing is, now when you're in the honors year for psychology, you start applying for the masters while you're in your honors year. So now you can imagine, I get there, I'm 20, my highest level of education is matric. I have this letter of motivation from the rector at Rao saying I'm doing 3rd year at the same time, and that they have faith in me, in that I will pass. So when I got there to the interviews, all of the institutions rejected me. Because why? I looked young. I remember Verts actually said, you need to be 25. At that time, I'm 20. So I went through different institutions trying to get placement in the master's program. And at some point, I felt, I'm going to give up. And then I decided to actually finish and stop applying and going for interviews and then wait and see. And fast forward, when in the next year, now I decided I'll do a psychometry course where, I become a psychometrist. But someone dropped out of the master's program where I was selected to come for interviews. So then, of course, because I always say to people, this is my purpose. I got to know of that, and I went for interviews, and I was taken for the master's program. And of course, I was still the youngest, without a family. And out of that class, I was the first one to graduate with that master's degree because of my passion. And you know, every day everyone will wonder, but how old are you? What are you doing here? When they get into the office, where's the clinical psychologist? And I'm the one sitting there, and I'm like, so I learned how to manage that. I learned how, you know, to get people to relax, to say, trust me, you know, trust me. Let me show you what I can do with you because of my passion. And people who knew me at RAW also knew that I was into, you know, sneakers. And, you know, I would even create my own skirts from pants. So I was quite rustic in my look. I even decided, you know what, when they walk into the office, I'm still going to maintain my hair. So I still have the afro going on. But at least let me, you know, make sure that when they come into the office, then they hear what I offer, right? Without necessarily changing who I am. So I've been in this field for that long, and I would not change it for anything in the world. And you know, the reason why I said we're going to talk about the mind, you know, as human beings, we're in autopilot, right? Life happens, and we're like soldiers. We function like soldiers. We're continuously just chasing the next thing. We don't have time to sit and reflect. We're almost like we're in a war. And when in a war, people do not reflect. People don't reflect and say, my goodness, how did that bomb make me feel? You know, people in a war are continuously, you know, waiting for the worst case scenario to happen. And in that way, that's how human beings function nowadays. Now we've got load shedding, you know, we've got so many things happening, unemployment, you know, we always constantly on this autopilot mode that we don't sit in every moment. Because if we are worried, it means we living in the future. If we are sad or depressed, it means we're living in the past, meaning we hardly are present. We're almost like walking around as zombie. Be present, because some of you are sitting here thinking, traffic, okay, when I leave here, what am I going to make for dinner? What am I going to wear tomorrow to church? What are my children doing? What is my partner? Your legs? And don't worry, I'm not hypnotizing anyone. I'm not going to make anyone do what they don't want to do. The idea is when you breathe in, remember we are sort of simulating that place mouth, right? That's when, and when you do that, you might feel a little bit of a, does this spell? And those who are talented at doing breathing exercises, I challenge you to go deeper, right? So that you can feel the benefit, okay? And when you breathe in, close your mouth as well. And you must feel like you are running out of oxygen, literally, okay? Breathe in. Hi, Bo, that's low. Come, you must be dramatic. I want drama. All right, let's start again. Are you ready? Okay, breathe in. 5, 4, 3, 2, and let go. Does it take you? You must feel that rush. How are you feeling? Anyone? How you feel? Relaxed, relaxed. And also the noise outside, suddenly you can feel present in this room. Let's do it one more time. Panic attack. So we need to, and because this is a habit, so things that we think, that we do, the way we carry ourselves becomes a habit. The same way someone who smokes or drinks, that's their habit. So we tend to think in a certain manner. We need to learn to remind ourselves how to be relaxed, how to be like newborns. Newborns don't have stress, right? When you carry them when they're sleeping, they're heavier than when they're awake. Why? Because they're so relaxed. So when you do the breathing exercise, the aim is to get you to that position of a newborn. And that's why we do the breathing exercise. That's why we say to you, breathe. Because we want you to come back to the moment and shut out the noise. It doesn't take away your problems. It doesn't take away what's happening in your life, but it gives you clarity of thought. And you're able to be present in whatever it is that's happening to you in that moment. But also oxygen is nice, eh? So that rush is oxygen, and you get a little bit high on the oxygen. It's nice. So you must try it. And I say to people, because you have been accustomed to holding your breath, do this exercise 4 times in a day. Yes, they might think you're weird. Like, what's going on here? Why are you breathing so deeply? So do it 4 times a day. When you wake up, before midday, after lunch, and before you sleep. The people who struggle with sleep, try this. Just breathe. Some people think it's my voice that gets them to that zone. I said, no, it's because of you holding your breath and letting go so that you can sleep and be present in that moment. And that's what they call now, as I said, mindfulness or being present and being aware. It seems like a small thing, but it's so important for us to know how to get ourselves into that state. And also athletes, specifically when they're panicking, because I work with a lot of athletes who are competitive, some of them. Some are always under pressure, right? So they need to get out of their head when they're on that sporting field. They need to literally come out and perform and be present. So that requires them to also be present in the moment. And I always say to them, breathe. It means you're holding your breath. Or you find that your jaw is tight. You're not even aware because it's so subtle. So you need to breathe and breathe. And when you can't breathe, you breathe some more so that you can be present. So this is just a demonstration of what the mind is. You know, we talk about the power of the mind, taking charge of the mind, hey, this, mind, this. But I always say people actually do not fully comprehend what the mind is. The mind is, I draw that iceberg usually, above ground is 10%. That's what we see, the reactions, the actions, the behavior, what's spoken. And then 90% is what we call the subconscious, things below the surface. Things below the surface are your memories, your traumas, your experiences, good and bad, childhood traumas, your anxieties, your fears, all those things we don't like. They're there, but they constitute 90% of your mind, which is a lot. And yet, as human beings, we focus on our outer being, how we look. We go to gym, but when they say, please go make an appointment with the therapist, it's like, yo, my goodness, no, I'm fine. I can push through. I'm okay. No, I'm not crazy, you know, because of the stigma from people, but also from self. But 90% of those things, it's like a river. When I draw it like that. It's like a river that does this. And then once in a while, things from the river just pop up. And they don't have manners. Things in the river don't have manners. You do things and you're like, yo, was that me? Or someone does things, you're like, where did that come from? I take this and I put a chair without a coaster. Then someone throws a fit. You're like, yo, what's happening? Why? It's because of things in the river of the subconscious. That's how powerful that thing is. And everything and anything that happens to us when we are born is stored in the subconscious. Everything and anything. And how it goes is, if you do not process it or work on it, it just sits there and it festers and it waits for you. So that's why when someone comes into my office and something happened to them when they were 4 years old, when they come and step into my office, maybe they're presenting with anxiety today as an adult. When we take it, so my work is to take it to the root cause. The root cause is always found in that 90%. And when we sit with it, when they start to cry, it's almost like it's still fresh. So literally it's 4-year-old them crying in my office as an adult because that thing was just sitting there waiting for it to be processed. And sometimes you need someone like myself to help you process those things, right? And we're not even aware sometimes of the connection. You find yourself anxious, but you literally took my hand and you took me to the basement of my rock bottom. And now we're opening up boxes that I never thought I needed to open, because the subconscious just sits there with whatever that, you know, has happened to you. And with the subconscious, sometimes that thing, maybe it's anger, right? Because sometimes I sit with prisoners. When you ask them, why do you kill? They'll tell you, no, when I was 3, something happened to my mom, so I'm angry. I'm talking an adult who's killing random people, right? With no conscience, with no remorse. And it's because when they were young, someone did something to their mom, so they're angry. So meaning the anger is floating in there. And then what it did, it's almost like a balloon. It becomes this, and then it just pops and snaps and comes up in different, and there's no logic when those things come up from the subconscious. And when you sit with them and you at that point, the anger has become a part of them. That's why we say, unjalo. It's because that thing has taken over their personality, their life, their way of being. It has become a part of them. And some people are so far gone that I can even say prognosis of things in the subconscious. So we need to be aware that even if, and in the subconscious, there's also your defense mechanisms, your personality. So even if you're not recognizing what has happened to you, or you don't recall, or you've dug a hole and you try to hide it, it still just sits in the subconscious and it waits for you until you are ready and have the capacity to deal with whatever is there. It's a lot, I know. And the subconscious is both gullible and powerful. It's gullible because whatever you tell it, it takes it. If you give it wine, it takes it. Vinegar, takes it. Water, it takes it. It doesn't question you. So whatever you give it, it sucks it and it believes it and it manifests as reality. So if you're telling yourself, we are our worst enemy, someone can say something about you, but the pain or the danger comes when you internalize what they are saying and identify because of what's going on or the choices they make or the things that they think about, what they focus on, what they dwell on. And the mind is so powerful that whatever you think, visualize, even if it's not the truth, whatever you're visualizing, the mind manifests it as reality. That's why when you're visualizing danger or an accident or a catastrophe that might have happened or that you think might happen, it feels like it has happened, and you can manifest the feelings of of anxiety as if it has happened. So that's why we need to understand what's going on in my mind. What's happening in my subconscious? And remember, as much as people project on you, you project on other people. So it's not that, no, people are doing this, no, you are projecting on others. So you also need to be aware of yourself. And as women, I think in the patriarchal society that we live in, sometimes it's almost like certain things are subtly expected of you. And therefore, you need to really do the work of the things that is the script in your subconscious, so that you can undo those things. They take a lot of work. They take a lot of effort, but it's possible. And it can happen to anyone, right? So I was, just a quick story, I was in a relationship with a psychiatrist-to-be when I finished my master's. And so I was already a clinical psychologist, and this relationship was 12 months. He proposed in the 3rd month, and he did a 360 on me. He diagnosed me with each and everything in the book that we both studied, right? He diagnosed me with everything. But now you must understand, I was a qualified clinical psychologist, so I knew I don't qualify or I don't meet the criteria to have the diagnosis. But I internalized it as if it was my reality, to a point that I hated my skin. I did not want to live anymore because this man told me that, I will amount to nothing. And I internalized it. I internalized it to a point that, I couldn't. This is 12 months, right? By December, I broke up the relationship. But his voice haunted me for 8 years. I did not want him, but his voice, those things he said, I believe them. So when I talk about these things, I'm talking about not my knowledge only, but help. I also talk about then, how do you get over it? How do you heal? How do you move on from these traumas? And the interesting thing is when you decide that this thing no longer serves me, that I need to be okay, the change is so quick. When you are ready, it took me 8 years, but the day I decided, no, okay, maybe I have a purpose. Because I use man, honestly, and we can't just say it's him. He found me already struggling with my identity as a clinical psychologist. Because remember, at that time, I was still young, I'm black. There was a lot of things around that. So I was not sure. And what abusers do, they find something and they run with it. So So he ran with my questioning psychology, and he told me that I chose the wrong career, I must change, and I'm nothing, and you know, and diagnosed me with everything. But, you know, the minute I decided, my goodness, I need to do better, within 2 sessions, now you can tell me I'm a useless psychologist. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry for you. There's other psychologists, Cole Sicer, they'll give you a list, you know. But it took courage. It took me to sit with myself to say, I am not okay. It takes courage for one to sit with the things below the surface. It takes so much courage, but it's possible. And once you sit with what is in that subconscious, you become an unstoppable force. So that's why I always say to people, please seek clinical psychology therapy so that you can, you know, get over certain things. And I know out there's a lot of social media psychologists, gurus who pop up. Get qualified people who are registered, right, to do the work, to take you to the root cause. And once it's uprooted, you'll be unstoppable. You'll be unstoppable. And it's not just athletes. It's every human being. Everyone, and females, as I said, need to sometimes work twice as hard to, you know, uproot those things because of, you know, the things that are expected to as the stereotypes in society. But it is possible to overcome everything. Still okay, it's a lot. So I've matriculated, I was starting grade 8. And when I started that, remember I was always 2 years younger than everyone. Right, so I did the 100 meters and the 200 meters, and I was great at it. I was representing the province. So remember, I'm a typical 100, 200 meter runner. So meaning you sprinting for 400 meters, and it's a lot. So he said to me, and typically it's lean, tall. You know, I'm short. I get very muscular. I know it doesn't look that way, but you know, in my prime, I was very muscular. But I said, okay, let's go, let's do this. And he trained me to do the 400. So then I became a 400 meter runner, which was, you know, something I never dreamed that I would do. Remember, with a 400 meter run to prepare for the sprint, you must run 600 meters. It's flat to prepare to run that 400 meters, right? And then came 1998 when I was in my matric year. I ran the 400 meters and I broke the record, the provincial record. And then immediately when I broke the record, my coach then calls me, says, and I'm still out, she doesn't want to run. Now, mind you, they're about to start the 200 meter, which is half. So I run to the start of the 200 meters. And then when they say and they get there, they say, take your marks. So now I must come into my blocks. And then I broke the record again. And then I did that, and then then as I was sitting again, I don't know, the girl, I think she was just, or maybe it was my time to run 3 races that day. I don't know. She then pulled out of the 100 meters, and then the same. He says, go run the 100. And then I go, and that day I broke 3 records. And I always say to people that you need to believe in yourself even when everybody thinks it's impossible. And I'm also short, so I used to also play netball for the province. But because I'm short, I'm not jump like a springbok. Like, I can spring, I jump. So I shock people because I'm short. And then I jump, and the goal attack is like, wow, and I made the provincial team, which was unexpected. Why? Because I'm 1.5 meters tall, which was very unexpected. So we need to understand that even when it seems impossible, even when the system and people doubt your potential, you need to believe in yourself. The reason why the institutions, when I initially applied for my master's, rejected me is because they thought I was too young. I will not. 2,000 reasons why. And then when I qualified, they are the ones who wanted to hire me. The irony of it all. So you need to understand that even when people do not believe in you, you need to believe in yourself. So I always use the 400-meter race as I wrap up as sort of a metaphor to explain what I learned about life. In the 400 meters, you don't start in a straight line, right? The inner one starts here. You can't even see who you're starting with. Remember the 400-meter race, there's field activities, there's the grandstand, people are going shot put, it's busy. There's chaos. So the first thing is you need to understand that you need to stay in your lane. right? In the 400, you can't go to the 8th lane. You must stay. If you're assigned lane 2, you stay in lane 2 and you do lane 2 until you finish. And also you must understand that you need to run your own, because you cannot try and catch the person in the next lane, because remember, it's an oval. So you're going to burn out. You need to go in there with a plan for your race and stick to your race, and you need to shut out the noise. People are going to shut out the noise, and also the noise in your brain. The biggest noise is the one in our heads. You need to shut it out and sprint and do and stick to what it is you and your coach planned for that race. And also you need to zoom in and shut out everything. And at about towards the end, so when you come around the curve there, the winner is made there. Ne? Because there's an invisible wall. There's a wall. My coach used to say to me, when you get to the wall, you must pray. And you must really ask God to lift up your legs, because why? Your legs shut down. When, not if. It doesn't matter how fit you are. It doesn't matter. I trained day in and day out. In spite of that, I still hit a wall. And everyone hits a wall in life. Every one of us, to carry your body, because your legs will not carry you. Your body will not carry you. There you need to have a spiritual outer body experience of sort to finish strong. And you need to make sure that you are competing with you from your previous time, right? When you're doing that, and see yourself on the other side of the finish line at that point, because everything says stop. Now you also now seeing your other people around you. You do you at that time, and you tap into your inner being to carry you to the end, because you want to finish strong. And that's when in life, when you hit a wall, you need to make sure that you know what it is that you need to do to tap into that spirit, that mindset, to carry you to the end. And I always say to people that the mind is a spiritual realm, because everything manifests in the mind before it manifests in the physical. So if you see yourself winning, you win before in your mind, before you win physically. And it's very important to ensure that whatever is happening in your mind, you are in charge of it. It's not, left to its own devices. You must really take charge of that mind and ensure that you're in charge of it. It must know who is boss. And you must make sure also what you're feeding it is not garbage, because it will take that garbage and that will manifest as your reality. So you need to make sure that your mind, which is your spirit, is truly under your control for progress. We aim to be better. We're a work in progress until we pass away. There's no good human. You are a work in progress until you are no more on this earth. And it's every one of us. They're like, does it mean I'll be in therapy for life? I'm like, no, you're going to grow. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you lose, you are lost. So whatever you think, you are correct type of thing, right? For out in the world, you find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are correct. If you think if you've got to think high to rise, you've got to think high to rise. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the one who thinks he can. And this is not about lying to yourself. There's a difference, and this is not about hyping yourself. This is about making sure that you do the work and see yourself finishing strong. And it's not always about winning. It's about doing the best that you can and being satisfied with the efforts that you put in ourselves to come out of soldier mode, because we're continually in soldier mode. We need to sit and reflect and be okay with ourselves and be comfortable with our skin. It's not always easy, but it is possible. It is very possible. So we need to make sure that we put in the work to become the best versions of ourselves, because if we're in soldier modes, it means we're just trying to survive. But we need to aim to thrive. Choice. We need to make sure that those the river of the subconscious, we choose to heal so that we can thrive. And I thank you so much for your attention. Should we breathe before I go? Okay, let's breathe. Okay, just sit back. Okay, taking a deep breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The only thing you can take charge of is you and your mind, which is your spirit. The other things are not in your control. Your partner, your child, government, life, COVID, those are not in your control. The only thing you are in control of, that you are entitled to control, that you are expected to control, is you, yourself, and your mind, which is your.
Thanks a lot for helping us to tap into the mind so we can finish strong. Now, without wasting any time, help me welcome a true legend of the beautiful game. She has served as head of women's football at the South African Football Association for a good 20 years. Not only that, she served as technical director at the National Football Association, which is SAFA, of course, for a good 3 years. She is now the author of a wonderful book called Fran, A Song for Banyana. Let's welcome Fran Helton Smith.
Morning, thank you ladies for the invitation. I've got about 10 minutes. I have to really fly through this to tell you my 50 years in 5 minutes. When I was small, I decided I wanted to do everything and anything. So I was a biker, I was a South African rowing champion, and in 1993 started the first women's national team. They weren't called Banyana then, but that's them. I also was a musician, playing rock and roll, and then I finished my career in one of the top women bands in South Africa, Basadi Women's House. So I was really privileged in my life. They were injured, they were sick, they were not at school. So I decided to start a high performance center at Tuks University in Pretoria 24 years ago. And the girls there on the left, one of the girls in Banyana come from my high performance center. So that's why Banyana is successful, not Bafana, because of development and years of commitment from many people. They have succeeded. I made sure that the girls who were at university, were at HPC, had the opportunity to go on to university. There's Shorty, Simpiwe Dludlu, the under-17 coach, sports science degree. Kenil Wimatibela at the end, honours in sports science. And she is now the head of coach education at South African football. Unbelievable that a woman has that position. When I was at SAFA for 20 years, I made sure that I developed women administrators. We had 3 FIFA courses that are organized, and 87 women from the SAFA regions have gone through the administration course. I also was the only coach, the only woman coach. So I thought, well, that's a lot of rubbish. So I found former Banyana players in the main and helped them over 5 or 6 years to become the top coaches in the country with the highest qualification you can get. They are as qualified as any man in the country and can do the same jobs. There you have Desiree Ellis in the front. She's the Banyana coach. Jabalili Beloy, under 20s, and Pee-wee Ludlu over there. Kanilwe, Tina. So all these women are working in football. They're not just having their certificates on the wall. They're working in women's football at the highest level. Some of our players at last year's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand got into the top 10 of the best footballers in the world. We have 5 players as the best African players from the African Women Championships last year. And here we have Janine van Wyk, who is the most capped national team player. She's represented the country the most with so many caps, and she started the JVW project in Gauteng, which has 250 girls' schools playing football. So she's made a massive difference in football. On her right-hand side is Lydia Monyapayo, a former Banyana player, who was actually a basketball player at Wits, and I needed a tall striker, so I said to her, you must come and play football. She said, I can't play football. I said, I'll teach you. So she came, she Banyana, and she is the first ever Chief Executive Officer of the South African football. A woman in a man's sport. It's unbelievable. Lydia Monyapayo. Sundowns, of course, women are the African champions, which is fantastic. Desiree Ellis is the African Coach of the Year 4 times in a row. Against men, she has won the African Woman Coach of the Year. And we have players playing overseas, i.e. Tembi Khatlana, who comes from the High Performance Center, CAF Player of the Year, Goal of the Year, men and women. And when I first started with girls' football, parents would say to me, I don't want my daughter playing football, it's a waste of time, she must work in the house, she must wash the dishes, there's no future. Now in women's football, everybody wants to play football. Tembi Khatlana, a little girl, her parents were shebeen owners. She is now earning 870,000 rand a month playing girls football. 10 million rand a year. Don't listen to me, Google, you will see. She's playing football in Mexico. We also have Hilda Machaya there, and the Nicolo twins. We have Jermaine Sepusenwi. They're all playing in Mexico, earning millions of rand, playing women's football. So people used to tell me I was wasting my time. I'm not talking about what we should do. I'm telling you what we have done and where we are. There is the answer. Somebody started a tournament after me, which I was very honored, and we had 3 already with girls from all over the country playing in the Fran Hilton Smith tournament. So from being a little fairy with a wand, I had big dreams, and it led to me getting the top sport achievement in South Africa. So I was very honored to receive that Steve Chweti Award. And of course, the highlight of my life, meeting Nelson Mandela twice with my team Banyana, some of them are sitting here, and with my band. So I've had an exciting life. That's why I wrote my book, so people can have it as a guidebook that you never give up. I don't take no for an answer. And with no money, huge stumbling blocks, I've managed to achieve something in women's football. So thank you very much.
A big thanks to Mev and Hilton Smith. Right now, we are moving to our final panel discussion. It will be hosted by Dr. Hajira Mashiko, who is the director at the Sports and Rec and also a CEO at the TUT Fitness Junction. Bengicela ukuthi samukele.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are the ones keeping you between your stomachs and lunch. So we'll make sure we'll go through it very quickly and take you through so we can have lunch. I'm sure we're all hungry. So just to introduce myself quickly, I'm Dr. Hajira Mashiko. I'm currently employed as the director responsible for sport and recreation at TUT. And I'm also the CEO of Fitness Junction, which is a gym company. But today is not about me, it's about the three beautiful ladies sitting here next to me. So we have Shobisile Kumalo, who's a videographer and producer there in the middle. Please. Then we have Bukiwe Nonina. I'm sure you all know her, hey? Yeah, she's an international boxer. She looks like a boxer, you can see that. So you don't even have to ask, okay? Yeah, and then we have Nokwanda Zondi, who's a photographer. So this session is talking about using sports and making sports a business, commercializing sports, living out of sport. And as you can see, we've got an athlete on the one side, we have a videographer, and we have a photographer. So we're looking at the different ways of making money out of sport, right? So I'm going to give you each a short session. If you can quickly introduce yourself. Like I've said, you're a photographer, but you can tell us more. How do you use your sport photography as a way to make money?
Sanbonani. My name is Nokwanda Zondi. I'm from Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal. I work for a company called Backpage Pics, which is a leading sports photography agency in South Africa.
Sanbonani Ikamalam Gusho. I am from Enanda in KZN, but I now work in Joburg. I am a videographer and I do video. I was the first person, actually not the first person, the first female producer for Orlando Pirates Up the Bucks TV show, and I also am I'm also an award-winning outside broadcast camera operator.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Buku Nonina. I was born in Eastern Cape, Aidukwa. Every time when I'm in the interviews, they're always saying, Zizo Peta, that is Chwat now. So yeah, and I'm one of those people who are from in a small village. But for me, I grew up in Klerksdorp, Northwest, where my father was working. Now it's where my career also started of boxing. So now I'm based in Joburg, and I found home under TLB Boxing Promotion, where I'm promoted by my mom. I call her my mom, yeah. Yeah, she's also promoting male, not only female boxers. So I'm a former five-time bantamweight champion, and I was the first one to do that. And 2 times bantam world champion, former. I'm a current ABU champion on a new weight. And I'm a 2-time female boxer of the year. Also, also WBF fight of the year in the world.
No, keep it. Okay, let's stay there. Tell us how you got there. Just quick suppression of your history. How did you get to this? From being a young girl in Klerksdorp, how did you get to that point?
I grew up playing soccer until I was 19. I don't know how my dad tricked me to join his team. I'm from the family of boxers. My 3 first brothers were boxers. My big sister and my younger sister were also boxers. So I was the only one who was playing soccer. Then when I was 19, I was giving up on soccer. Then I don't know how he tricked me to join his team. But it was too quick in a way. Good. I joined boxing when I was doing grade 10 as an amateur. When I was doing grade 11, I turned professional. When I was doing grade 12, I won my SA title. So it was quick for me to saying, okay, I'm changing the career again. That's when I kept going.
Let's talk about the money part. It was quick for you to be a professional, but was it quick for you to make money? And are you able to live off that money?
Not a woman in South Africa, you can make money that quick in sport. So it was not easy at all. It's just that I was not focusing in money that time the way I love sport. I was focusing to finish the school, and then my father, he was my trainer. He was the one who's focusing in money, but it was not good. He just wanted me to be known. And then after I did that, it's when I had to move to change the provinces to make better living. That's when I came to Gauteng, and then I joined better promotions and then better gyms. That was better. I won't say I have sponsors as female boxers. The minute they asking a sponsor under your name, they become interested, seek sponsors. But I push myself to get sponsors that are only personal sponsors, those smaller nyana people that are helping me on the side, but they make me live, and then I can be able to support my family. And I also had to do a personal training as my side hustle, because there is no boxer in South Africa who will say, female or male, who can say they can make a lot of money in boxing that they won't even work. We have multiple champions, world champions, but they're still going to work every day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, videographer. That's one career we don't really think about. Hey, so if your daughter comes to you tomorrow and says, I want to be a videographer, are you going to say, to the town, what's your problem? So tell us about videography and how you got into sport videography.
Okay, so I studied videography, which is video technology from DUT. And that enabled me, because growing up I'm horrible at all sports. So I used to be found in sporting places, but I used to not play it, but I just watch it. So that gradual thing to say, I would like to capture sport. I started with dancing, capturing dancing videos, and I realized that I love sport and I love what I do. And then when I advanced to study it, then it became a thing. Let me start from the bottom. I was not proud to say I have a degree, so I'm not gonna roll cables for the shoot. I went there and I rolled cable. I started, after I had made a career in Durban, when I came to Joburg, I had to start again to say I'm rolling cables and I'm an intern and work my way up. So with that, it's also women that were in my circle that were like, okay, we see you wanna do this, but can you do this, but also be prepared. You're gonna need to start from the bottom. No one is gonna hand you over to say, hey, here's a job, you're good at this. You need to build that trust. So with me shooting for small like developments, that when I started shooting, like when I was a junior development, I went there, and then once I was there, I did cricket, and then with cricket, I started touring with the Proteas, women's Proteas at the beginning. And then when I was doing that, other people could see my work to say, oh, she can do this thing. And then I worked with rugby and did the Japan World Cup. So it wasn't a thing you could see, today I'm doing this and I'm gonna make money. It was a progress of, okay, people can see my work, okay? And then I got to Pirates, and then Pirates also motivated me to say, hey, we see your work, we see that you are good at this. Be our producer and shoot our thing. And because people trusted me, and there were women even in the space of Pirates to say, we trust that you can do this. And then when I was there, I also got motivated to start my own production company, which is an all-female production company. We do, and that led me to do events like the World Cup. I went to like last year, I had the best time going to the outside broadcast with the women's netball, actually the netball World Cup. And then with that World Cup, I could say, okay, my production company can work on this. And then I got to be able to do this year, the under-19 ICC World Cup for ICC. So like, it's always a learning curve. You, in this industry, as a videographer, it's a learning curve. You learn new equipment, you learn how to stream, you learn how to operate a camera, how to operate sound, how to operate light. It's a learning thing, and when you dedicate that time, you can showcase your work and make money. It's not easy, but there are people, there are spaces where you can go and say, hi, even no wonder, I can come in and say, oh, I see you a photographer, can you please give me a tip? I'm trying to do this type of thing, but mix it with video. And she can do that. I'm not afraid to ask for help from other women in the space.
Good. Okay, Nogwanda, and how did you get to?
Thank you for that. So, growing up, I was always into sports. Fast forward to, being. I think my first job was the Salga Games. I wasn't the greatest of a basketball player, but I wanted to be around basketball. So one of the things that one could do to be within basketball was to be a table official. And during the school holidays, Salga had those games, indigenous games as well, soccer, cricket, basketball. And we were invited to come and work. So I was like, this is nice. I want to be part of it. I love sports. So even in university, when I was studying, I studied industrial psychology. On weekends, I'll still be around basketball. With the love of photography, my friends would even say, how are you coming with me without your camera? Get your camera with me. So, fast forward to last year, when I started with Backpage Pics, I was in corporate before. It's been a roller coaster, to be honest with you, and it was just a thing to say, follow your passion. You've been doing, yes, and I was so fortunate enough to be to just find this job opportunity, and I'm just so lucky, to be honest with you. Just following my passion at this point.
So if any of you ladies, if you had a chance to restart again, would you do what you're doing right now? You can start and then take it. And why would you go to this career that is so challenging?
Quick answer. Yes. It took me a long time to fully understand my purpose. I feel like it's my purpose. And if I knew way before, because I could wake up earlier before, say, I enjoy photography in sports. So I would do it again. I would love to see more women actually in the sportsing space in photography. It's always nice to see when you go to a cricket game or a soccer game and you see a female, it just lightens me up. So I'd love to see more women in that space. Yeah.
I would definitely still do what I do now because it makes a difference. No one can tell women stories, or no one can tell a story better than women. So if I have to do it with the camera, I would definitely do it again.
I don't know if I'm not serious with life or what, but no. And I have a son is turning 10 months next week. He will never play boxing in my house. No, like boxing is draining. If I was not strong, maybe I was gonna be one of those boxers who hang themselves, because there are many boxers who kill themselves every year. Boxing is, I will never put my daughter in where I was. Like, it's traumatizing.
So you would never put your daughter in it, but what about the girls that are already in it? What advice would you give to them who are looking up to you? Because they've already chosen that
I don't know
field.
how strong they will be. They already chose it.
Yeah.
So for my daughter, I won't even make her to be part of it.
Yes, so I'm saying for those who have chosen it and who want to be like you, what advice would you give them to be able to make it?
To be honest, they will need a very supporting family, because at home we will come back crying just because one of us lost in the amateur games. Now that we are professional, I remember my first fight, I lost it though. I was fighting in Limpopo. I lost my first fight. I won my second fight. My third fight, I lost it again, and I was cheated. My dad wanted to step inside the ring and fight, but we have those calmness. One of my brothers were there. If one of us is angry, one of us can calm us down. So after that, it's when I went for SA Taggle for the second time, because I was fighting for SA Taggle for when I was having a third fight. That's when my dad told me straight, baby, we're going for knockout. And we won by knockout. What if the child, like I won't be there for my child to say those words? My dad were there for me, because the only reason I didn't quit in boxing is because of him.
It's because you have a supportive
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good takeaway, that we need to have a supportive structure for our athletes in order for them to survive. I'm going to open it to the audience. If anyone has questions for the three ladies, please, we're only going to take 3 questions because of time.
No, thank you for the opportunity. I think to maybe go back to some of the discussions we had, and what makes me happy is that everybody refers to school sports, because that's where it starts, and grassroots. Now, what I want to say, there is that conception that school sports is not alive. It is alive, but we don't create platforms to showcase. Because once we go back into townships, and I'm happy the videographer said you started small and you've grown up to the stage where you are. But if we go back to grassroots and give the children, I spoke to the girls, I think they netball from Soweto. I don't think they've ever been on television. But if we create that, automatically the community will get involved. We see it's mostly our affluent schools. And that's why everybody thinks that sports is only in our schools. Yes, they have the resources and everything else. But if we have, like the two ladies, you obviously I think you take pictures mostly, and the other one makes. What does our kids do? They go to, if you go to TikTok, we don't see the good happening. We see the funny and the are doing. Now, if we have that ignited from the foundation phase upwards, we can create our own heroines like you that put other people on the platform to show their abilities and creativity when it comes to sports and other things. So my plea, maybe we must go back to our principles and say, let's re-look. History is good because we need to know where we come from. But I always say, when I was in school, we were taught about the grasshopper, to draw the grasshopper. Today, when I see a grasshopper, I want to kill it. It didn't really bring a lot. But if I was exposed to know that the camera is not just there to pose, but to create, first, career opportunity, two, to expose the talent we have at grassroots level. So my plea to you, come down from wherever you are in the small fraternity, even if you make a small change from the community where you come from. In Afrikaans we say, "Biki biki maak meer." That will expose our talent that we have in our township.
Okay.
And to my lady, up the bucks.
Okay, thank you. Is that the only one? Oh, okay, that's the last one that we're taking.
Good afternoon, ladies. Mine is to say in regards to the comment you made regarding support. So right next to me, I'm sitting next to my mother. Yeah, and she has received awards in sports. I think I'm one of the luckiest people in because I got that support. Would I support my sons? I've got 3 kids, so would I support them to go and do sports? I would support them in athletics because I'm a former international. But what I would disagree with you on is I would support my kids, but I would try and do it differently because of the experience I went through. This woman was tough on me. Till today, she was tough on me. She carried me. Do you understand? But when I lost my career because of an injury, because I had no rehabilitations, whatever issues I had, she still carried me. But if I had to sportsing as a sportswoman herself, there's no time to pamper my feelings. So I would try and impart certain things. And she knows I'm a hugger. She's not a hugger, you know. So there are things that I would do differently. I would give my kids time to go and be children and play and support and not be as hard. But today I'm a director of sports at a private school in a township because of how hard she was to me. Do you see? So, you know, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I guess those are not questions, but they are comments. So I think in your last, I'm going to give you 5 seconds each for your last words, ne? In your last words, speak to the support and speak to what you are doing for development, or if you're thinking of doing anything to take your skills back to where you come from. Okay.
Okay, firstly, I will thank the Department of Sport in Gauteng. I've been involved in their many events, including in lockdown when we couldn't box as female boxers because we were only making money at the time. We were paid close to 9 months, and then we had food parcels, and they didn't only support women in Gauteng in boxing. They also include boxers from Malawi that are here in Gauteng, Zimbabwe, Zambia. So I would like to be grateful for that, because we did survive after that. And then for my fans, thank you so much for people that who don't know about boxing. in women in boxing in South Africa. It's there, and then it's growing. Few fight 2 weeks ago, women in series, and then my last fight was women in series under Gauteng. Was sponsored by Gauteng. So we're growing, but I'm expecting more.
Thank you.
For me, on the lady that says must come down to back to the grassroots and help out. As I'm from Enanda, I have worked with people in Enanda to teach them how to shoot, and they making a living in Enanda. And with my company, we might not have the TV rights, but when organizations have events, we offer to live stream the event. Maybe if you have events that you want to do, or sporting code that you want to do and you need our help, we can come through and we can live stream on our page or your page. So that is me giving back in that sense. And as women, I feel like I have systems in my sector, in the company, where we're teaching each other new things. I'm self-taught in live streaming. I'm self-taught in editing. I develop myself and develop other people.
From my side, because I work so much with pictures, and at the same time we live in such a digital world, it's also a challenge to myself that imparting that knowledge would be me putting myself out there onto the social media space. That's how I'd be able to tap into different people at the same time and teach them what I do, show people what I do, because I've been so shy and so quiet and people don't know what I do. So it would be also an opportunity for me to partner up with Umakumalu here as a videographer, where I can support and be able to take stills for her in that space. But you know, there's so much to do, and to be honest with you, having that teachable spirit to say some things I don't know, I'll ask someone else. I will get a mentor to teach me here and here. Is very important to notice. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. We've come to the end of the session, but I think take home from here is the importance of networks, the importance of perseverance, the importance of giving back as women, and finding a way in this whole sporting continuum to make a living and to find channels to be able to make a living out of it. I hope we make justice out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. No, guys, Bashaleni. No, I was saying thank you so much, ladies. You've been with us since Exeni up until now. I guess it's time for us to close up the session. And to give us a good vote of thanks, I'll call upon Usis Pilasande Muvevi. She is Director of Competitive Sport at the Gauteng Department of Sport, Arts, Culture and Recreation. Bengicela simshayeleni izandla.
She forgot to tell you that I also sweep at the department. I'm joking. Afternoon, ladies. I know the hall is halfway, but we wanted to first of all start with all of you. Thank you so much for coming through. Some of you were imparting, some of you were learning, and some of you are clients, some of you are so. Ladies and gentlemen, I see our Bulls people are still around. Thank you so much for giving us your time. The networking sessions, I had asked the young ladies to ask whoever they see, what do you do? How do you do it? And how can I be part of it? So to all of you, from coming through from as far as south, east, west, north of the province. Thank you so much. So can you please give yourselves a round of applause? To our panelists, wow, thank you so much. I'll start with the trailblazers. She has gone. Michelle Mukhanedi had to leave, as well as Lusanda. Thank you so much. Stacy Lee, thank you so much for being part of our trailblazers. Exactly that. You take on more of the load, and then the others you would have cleared for them. So thank you, ladies. To our panelists again that we've just heard from, I know this can be so intimate and exposing at times. Everyone thinks that we are making money and the likes, but you are also saying it's hard. I think, Nonina, you were real with us, you know. You love it, but it feels like abuse, right? Hence, you are saying you don't want to get your child there, but I'm sure we'll be hearing different things in time. So thank you so much, Nokwanda, Shobisile. I see Gauteng is the home of champions. We take on from other provinces, and we make sure that we give all these provinces the light. Thank you all for being part of this panel, and thank you for bringing all this insight about what your careers are. I think you are hearing that more and more people on the ground want to know what these careers are about. If you're a photographer, what do you exactly do? So in the different schools, one might be good as an athlete, the other might be good as the photographer, the TikTok person who's not putting up nothing but is actually, you know, quite a journey in this industry. Ladies, do note, a friend has a book. I don't think she highlighted it in a row. She's out than you would know. Team. We also have school team. We also have school sport that we work with, and we also have recreation that we work with. They are on the ground. They are closer to you. We want to be closer to you through these events so that we can expose more. So thank you so much, Acting Chief. Please also extend to all our teams that have mobilized for us to ensure that we'll have the right kind of ladies attending and ensuring that they have the transport to come through here. So thank you so much also to from my side as well, because she has been in the industry, and it's also great to see people who are very professional and who will not compromise on the professional side of things. So in her absentia, we also would like to thank her, as well as Alyssa. I see this is her first engagement on behalf of the Gauteng Sports Confederation, but as an athlete, I don't think we would have had her here if we didn't push her on that brand of Gauteng Sports Confederation as stakeholders of ours. So, Madam, you've been the captain of this ship. Thank you so much, Mpumi. You did say you were once community. I know at times it wasn't easy, but you've kept this dialogue going very well. Thank you for comparing it with such ease.